Good morning and welcome to the King's Report this Friday, April 28th, 2017, 8th year of Chungi, 4th month, 3rd day by the heavenly calendar. I'm your host, Chungi Sean Moon, second king of Chuniaguk. Let's go first to Tim, the agent elder, for our AccuWeather forecast. Tim.
All right, it's a warmer morning than we've been used to for a long time now. The temperature's in the mid-50s now, about 53 degrees now. And once the sun comes up about an hour from now, it's going to start climbing, and we'll get up to about 81 today. That's summer-like temperature.
81 degrees. Holy Shemitah.
And then tomorrow, about the same, but probably in the upper 70s, close to 80. Sunday will cool off a bit, only getting into the mid-60s.
Wow, well, that is quite a change, isn't it?
Yes.
I do have no shoes on today because it is pretty warm even right now.
Yes.
But thank you, Tim, for that report on the weather. Let's go first to our Rima here. And our Rima here is 1 Timothy and 6. For this whole section, very short chapters here, about the great mystery, the great apostasy, a good servant of Jesus Christ, take heed to your ministry, treatment of church members, honor true widows, honor the elders, and here we are honor masters. Let as many bondservants as are under the yoke count their own masters worthy of all honor, so that the name of God and his doctrine may not be blasphemed. And those who have believing masters, let them not despise them, because they are brethren, but rather serve them, because those who are benefited are believers and beloved. Teach and exhort these things. And of course here he's talking about the servants who are under certain bondage, in the sense that not necessarily slaves, they're being compensated for their work. Slaves have absolutely no rights; they're actually owned. And of course, Christian doctrine prohibits the capturing and or owning of slaves. But of course, to have those who are working for not their freedom, but working for certain economic classes where they're working for lower wages or things like that. Nonetheless, bondservants were able to choose their masters and or be able to move from different place to different place, whereas a slave is not able to choose that. They have no rights. And so if one is in that class, very common in the Roman Empire, where one would essentially serve a household, then Paul, of course, is reminding them, if they're believers, if the master is believers, let them not despise them because they are brethren, but rather serve them because those who are benefited are believers. And beloved, teach and exhort these things. So to honor your employee, particularly if that person is a believer in Christ, for the service that one renders towards a believer is benefiting them, because those who are benefited are believers and beloved. This also goes to a part on helping each other and helping Christian businesses or Christ-centered businesses. Helping give your hard-earned money to businesses that are operated by Christ, believing people. For example, we have Amazon, which is a organization that has been pro-Archangel, pro-centralized power. Of course, one of the top centralists and monopolists in the world, Bezos, who colludes with government, has $500,000, $500 million contracts with the CIA, has clear conflict of interest, yet is colluding with government, owns the Washington Post. How can you believe anything that the Washington Post says when they have millions and $500 million contracts with the CIA? how can you trust anything they say about the CIA or about any of the intelligence agencies? I mean, it's ridiculous. So, for example, we need other alternatives other than Amazon.com, and preferably if there was one that was a Christian-based company that could provide the same service. The problem is that to provide the same level of quality services and products at approximately the same price. I mean, I think the market would probably tolerate if you're a little above some of the prices, if you knew that your money was going to help a Christian business or a faith-based business, as opposed to this total globalist, centralist, monopolist, political Satanist organization, which is in the business or owns one of the main propaganda news outlets for federal propaganda. Okay, so this goes into the whole issue of even trying to shop around for alternatives, shopping with the good guys. If you have things that you want to get, like nutraceuticals or supplements, then support organizations like InfoWars that actually sell very high quality nutraceuticals made with Dr. Group and natural healing experts, such as like the nascent iodine. I take that every day. It's fantastic, absolutely fantastic. Balance your hormones out, really excellent. They have this new bone broth thing they call the Caveman Paleo formula. I didn't try that yet because it's chocolate flavored. That doesn't sound too appetizing. Chocolate bone broth. I like the regular bone broth that tastes more like chicken noodle soup or something, But that's that's going into nutraceuticals. It's basically Asian medicine that they're repackaging for the Western audience. And they have all sorts of stuff. Like they have something called their liver. Hey, there's Bezos. Go ahead. You put him up. There he is. There's Bezos. So if we can do business with people that offer similar services, but without supporting such globalist elitists like Bezos, then that would be better. Obviously, that would be better. And here Paul is mentioning the fact that when we help others that are believers, when they're entrepreneurs, even if they're masters, even though if they're your master, so to speak, in the sense that they're you're helping with their property, with their family, whatever, then your service helps them and are benefiting those who are believers and beloved. He says, teach and exhort these things. Teach and spread these things to the community so that the community knows how to support one another. And you quote, shop with the good guys. You're out there helping and supporting those in the Chanigo context. You're out there helping and supporting entrepreneurial contexts, in which those organizations and businesses are organizations that have similar values, and people are free to do that. In fact, many of the before the welfare state, the U.S. had over 10,000 different welfare organizations run by nonprofit organizations, churches, run by actually the Catholic Church had lots of nonprofit organizations in welfare organizations in New York City, run by many nuns all across the country. You had Jewish, you had welfare organizations that helped, just for example, Jewish people or Catholics or women or people who've been suffered abuse, et cetera, et cetera. So they're all specified, and some of them would be race-based, and some of them would be for their community of Amish people, or some of them would be for the black community. So they were targeted to go to particular areas and particular, sometimes even races. But sometimes you could say that some may be racially motivated. But the fact of the matter is you had so many options. If one organization turned you down, you could go to a different organization and seek to get help another organization. There's so much choice, as opposed to centralizing it to one area at the federal level, where all other welfare organizations have to work through the federal government, federal welfare chain, in order to provide benefits. But once the federal archangel has control over that, then you have all the strings attached to it, and in the end, the organization or the institution or that religion doesn't get credit. It's the federal government that gets credit. So again, the many welfare organizations that existed before the welfare state was centralized, providing much better care, providing much better personal care, because those organizations were smaller and they knew the people that they were helping get off certain problems. And they would keep those people morally accountable, and they would keep them accountable to that organization. So, for example, let's say, okay, you want to get on this welfare for this small organization that helps, for example, people who are suffering from abuse or whatever, or people who are orphans. Well, you can't stand that forever. There's a program of education. There's a program to help you get back on your feet and be accountable to those people. Or let's say getting off drugs or getting off smoking. Well, there's a support system. There's a whole program you go through, and you can receive support through that program. But in the end, you have to stop your habit in order to get that help. So you have to be morally accountable to those people that are helping you. You have to be morally accountable to that church that is helping you. And in the end, there's a sense of personal responsibility that's included. Instead of money just dropping down from some nanny state, which has to steal it from tax-paying citizens to give it to, quote, the impoverished, even though the impoverished are not given any sense of responsibility, and they are just given money that has been stolen. So, of course, that is an immoral act. Instead of the people who are receiving that welfare having to be morally accountable, having to be accountable for their habits, stopping their addiction if they're addicted, if that's the program. If it's a jobs program, then they have a time limit. They have to secure a job within 5 years. Of course, even the state welfare has now moved towards that, because it's totally unsustainable to just have millions of people just receiving monies endlessly. It's not possible to do that. And so, again, you have Paul exhorting people to teach and exhort to benefit other believers. And that is why a lot of these welfare organizations in the past would teach through religion as well. They would allow that person to become morally accountable to not only the people that are helping them, but also to God. Morally accountable to God. Repent of their sins. Recognize that they're addicts, if that's the program, and allow them to be free, more and more free from that captive state, and to work towards their freedom spiritually, psychologically, physically, and financially. Let's take a short break, and we will return with Mrs. Kong's Rima in the morning. We'll be right back after this short break.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group, with a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood, the history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun, to the best in compact concealed carry. Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Friday, April 28th, 2017. I am your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second King of Cheongguk. Let's go to Mrs. Kang for our Mrs. Kang Rima in the morning. Tim.
Mrs. Kang is reading this morning from John 14,
Wow, she has a very bright outfit on today.
verses 1 and 2. Let not your heart be troubled. Ye believe in God, believe also in me. In my Father's house are many mansions. If it were not so, I would have told you. I go to prepare a place for you. 회장님 말씀하십시오. 예.
오늘 말씀드릴 내용은 옛날 아버님께서 50년대에 기도하셨던 내용을 말씀드리겠습니다.
Today I would like to speak to you about how Father prayed during the 1950s.
오랜 역사를 거쳐오면서 수고해 오신 아버지를 모실 줄 알게 허락하여 주시옵소서.
Please let us know, Father prayed, please pray, let us know how to attend you, our God, who has been working throughout history.
오랜 세월 저희들을 염려하시며 사탄 대하여 싸워오신 아버지의 사정을 알게 허락하여 주시옵소서.
Please allow us to know your situation, God, when you have been worried about humankind throughout history and also has been fighting Satan throughout history.
미래의 소망을 두고 택한 아들, 딸들을 품어 영광의 자리로 인도하시기 위하여 염려하고 계시는 아버지의 심정을 아는 저희들이 되게 허락하여 주시옵소서.
Please, God, allow us to know your heart as you have maintained a hope and that you have embraced the people that you have chosen and in order to lead them into the position of glory.
오늘의 저희가 있게 된 것은 저희 자체의 뜻이 아니었고 저희가 누리고 있는 생의 영광도 저희로 말미암아 갖게 된 것이 아니었사오며 오늘 좀 하고 해야 되겠네요.
예. 말씀하세요. 예. 말씀하세요.
오늘 저희가 아버님 앞에 아버지 앞에서 기뻐할 수 있음도 저희의 수고로 말미암은 것이 아니오라. 모두가 수천 년 역사를 거쳐 수고해 오신 아버지께서 긍휼을 베푸시는 은사로 말미암아 되어진 것을 감사드리옵니다.
We are grateful for your grace because it is not on our own account that we have come to exist, and it is not on our own account that we are able to receive the glory that we received today, but it is because you have given us this grace.
저희들이 아버지의 은사의 능력을 대신하는 동시에 세계 인류를 대신하여 천륜의 전체적인 뜻을 나타낼 수 있는 아들, 딸들이 될 수 있게 허락하여 주시옵소서.
Let us be your representatives in the world, and let us be the sons and daughters who can bring your will to fruition in the world.
인간을 세워 영광 받으시기를 소망하시는 아버지이심을 알고 그 뜻을 이루어 드리려는 무리가 이 땅에 있습니까? 아버지 함께하여 주시옵소서.
We are here on earth in order to accomplish your will, that you would receive glory through human beings. And please allow us to receive.
그러한 우리는 당신께서 만민을 축복할 수 있는 발판이 되며 온 우주를 축복하실 수 있는 영광의 터전이 된다는 것을 저희들이 모두 깨닫게 인도하여 주시옵기를 아버님 간절히 바라옵고 원하옵나이다.
We sincerely ask that we be able to bring glory to all humanity, that we can form the foundation for you to reach all humanity and to accomplish your will in this world.
오늘의 날을 저희 한 자체 속에서 찾지 말게 허락하여 주시옵고 역사를 대신하고 전체 우주를 대신하고 미래의 세계를 대신하여 천륜의 뜻 앞에 부끄러움이 없는 아버지의 아들, 딸이 되게 허락하여 주시옵소서.
Let us not think that we exist for ourselves, but instead let us know that we are here for the sake of the entire universe, and that we are here for the sake of the future world. And let us be sons and daughters who will not have any shame before the world.
그런 아들, 딸이 된 것을 자랑할 수 있는 기쁨의 영광을 저희들에게 허락하여 주시옵길 아버님 간절히 바라옵고 원하옵나이다.
We ask that we be able to be proud of this fact, and that we be able to have the glory of taking joy in this.
아버님, 여기 모인 당신의 아들, 딸들 자신을 아버지 앞에 솔직히 나타냈사옵니까? 스스로 아버지의 허락하신 제단 앞에 엎드렸사옵나이까? 또 자신들을 희생하여 역사적인 죄악을 책임진 새로운 제물이 되어 있습니까? 현실의 죄악을 책임진 새로운 제물이 되어 십자가를 지고 골고다를 넘어가신 아버지의 인격을 본받는 자녀들이 되어 있사옵나이까? 미래의 영광을 위하여 아버님을 대신하고 또 사탄과 싸워 승리한 영광의 실적을 저희들이 갖고 있사옵니까? 아버님 이러한
거기까지 잠깐 쉬세요.
예.
잠깐 쉬세요. Father, have the people that who have gathered here, are they forthright in your presence? Have they become sacrifices? Are they carrying the cross across beyond Golgotha? And are they here for the sake of the glory of the future? 예, 계속하십시오.
미래의 영광을 위하여 아버님 대신 사탄과 싸워 승리한 영광의 실적을 저희들이 갖고 있사옵니까? 함께하여 주시옵소서.
And have they fought with Satan, and have they built up the results of having defeated Satan? Please be with them.
아버님, 우리들이 이러한 아들, 딸이 되어 당신의 영광을 노래할 수 있게 허락하여 주시옵기를 간절히 바라옵고 원합니다.
We sincerely request that we be able to become such sons and daughters, that we be able to bring you glory as a result.
이 한 뜻을 위하여 아버님을 따를 수 있는 충직한 자녀들이 되게 허락하여 주시옵길 간절히 바라고 원합니다.
Sincerely request that we be able to become sons and daughters who can completely follow you in this way.
그리하여 승리의 영광을 아버님 앞에 돌려드릴 수 있는 충효의 자녀들이 될 수 있도록 허락하여 주시옵소서.
And let us become sons and daughters of filial piety in your presence.
모든 것 하늘 앞에 맡기면서 주의 이름으로 기도 올렸사옵나이다. 1957년 6월 23일
We pray all this in the name of our Lord, June 23rd, 1957.
우리는 뜻 앞에 참으로 부끄럽지 않는 충효의 자녀가 되어야 하겠습니다.
We must become sons and daughters who have no shame in God's presence.
이것을 참 부모님은 우리를 향하여 바라고 계시니 우리들로 하여금 이 뜻에 순응할 수 있게 해 주시옵소서.
This is what true parents desire. And we ask God to allow us to accomplish this.
뜻 앞에 충신 그리고 효자 효녀가 되어야 하겠으며 이 효자 효녀의 책임을 우리들로 하여금 정말로 책임 다할 수 있게 함께하여 주시옵소서.
We need to become filial sons and daughters in the presence of God, and we ask God that He lead us in order to accomplish this.
모든 말씀 주의 이름으로 기도 올렸사옵나이다.
We ask all this in the name of our Lord.
옛날에 하셨던 기도 말씀이에요.
These were Father's prayers a long time ago.
오늘 간단히 말씀드리고자 하는 것은 참 뜻 앞에 우리들이 효자가 되고 충신이 되어야 하겠습니다. 이것을 참 아버님께서는 간절히 바라고 원하며 또 우리들에게 부탁을 하고 계십니다.
What I'd like to say to you today, my message today is very simple, and that is that we must become patriots in the presence of God's will. This is what the true Father asked of us very sincerely and deeply.
저희들을 향하여 아버님이 말씀하시기를 여러분이 생각할 때 효자라 하면 어떤 사람을 두고 이러는 말이냐 생각해야 하겠습니다.
We need to think what Father meant when He asked us to be filial children in the presence of God.
부모가 좋아하시는 음식 이걸 준비하는 것이 참으로 효자이냐? 진수성찬을 차려주는 사람이 효자라고 생각할 수 있느냐?
Is it enough that a child bring his parents food, the kind of cooking or the meal that the parent likes? Is it enough that he brings all kinds of fancy food to his parents? Is that enough to be a filial child?
아니면은 부귀 영화를 누릴 수 있도록 해주는 사람이 효자라고 생각하느냐?
Or is it to be a filial child? Is it enough that we bring all sorts of riches and treasures to our parents?
자식이 부모에게 아무리 호의호식을 시켜주고 권세와 부귀 영화를 누리게 해준다 하더라도 부모를 사랑하는 마음이 없다면은 그것은 진심으로 부모를 위해 주는 효자의 도리가 아닌 것입니다.
No matter if a child were to bring all sorts of wonderful food and all sorts of riches and glory to the parents, if that child does not have a heart of love towards the parents, then that all those things are not sincere offerings.
효자는 반드시 고생의 길을 통합니다. 순환의 길을 걸어가는 데 있어서도 그 순환과 고생을 축복하고 초월해서 보다 가치적인 것으로 소화시킬 수 있는 자극적인 것이 있다면 그것은 무엇이겠습니까?
A filial son, a filial child must always go through a course of suffering. That even if it goes through suffering for the sake of the parents, that he will consider this as blessing and will overcome, transcend that suffering and seek something of greater value.
그것은 사랑입니다. 자식이 부모를 위하는 사랑입니다.
It's the thing that greater thing that he pursues is love. It is the love of the child for the parents.
부자의 관계에서 이것이 바로 효자의 도리요 또 원칙입니다.
In the father-son relationship, this is the path of the filial son, and that is what he must do.
이 원칙은 그 누구도 부정할 수 없는 절대적인 것입니다.
This is a principle that no one can deny. It is absolute.
아버님께서도 우리들에게 하고 싶으신 말씀을 다 못하셨다고 늘 말씀하셨습니다.
Father would often say that he could not tell us everything that he wanted to tell us.
아버님께서 기도하실 때에 아버지라는 한 말씀을 부르고는 밤을 새우는 때가 많았습니다.
When Father was praying, sometimes he would just pray all night with just one word, as the word Father. He would just repeat the word Father all night.
무슨 말씀을 해야 하느냐? 아버지에게 내가 보일 것은 정말로 추태밖에 부린 것이 없는데 기가 막힌 사연이요 참으로 가슴 아픈 일입니다.
He would say to God, I would like to be able to show you something that I've done, but all I can show you is ruins. I feel terrible.
아버지 앞에 서러움을 재촉하는 그 무엇밖에 없는 것을 생각할 때에 정말로 한없는 눈물을 우리들이 흘릴 때도 많았던 것입니다.
And we would often shed tears thinking of God's situation.
아버님이 우리들을 보실 때는 참으로 아버님이 하나님을 대하셨던 그 심정과 우리들이 아버님을 대할 때를 비교해 본다면 너무도 우리는 뻔뻔스러운 때가 많았다고 생각되어집니다.
When we compare the way that Father related to God and the way that we related to Father, we realize that there were many times when we were too arrogant, much too arrogant.
우리는 지금까지 지나온 과거를 생각하면은 아버님을 위하는 마음보다가도 정말로 자기 선전하기에 급한 일들을 아버님이 보실 때에 참으로 기가 막혔던 때가 많았을 것입니다.
When we look back at how we've lived our lives, we realize that there are many times when we were not living for the sake of Father or doing things for the sake of Father as much as we were doing them in order to boast ourselves, in order to advertise ourselves.
효자는 마음이 앞서고 부모의 심정을 생각하는 자들입니다.
Filial children are children who will put priority on the situation and the heart of the parents.
자기의 책임을 다하지 못하게 될 때는 땅을 바라보며 하늘의 은혜가 내게서 떠나지 말아 달라고 비는 마음을 가지는 이가 효자인 것입니다.
And a filial child is one that when he is not able to accomplish his responsibility, he looks down and he bows his head down towards the ground and prays for God not to take away his blessing from him, his grace from him.
이러한 마음을 가지고 생활하지 않는 한 효자가 못 되는 것이요 충신이 못 되는 것입니다.
As long as we are not living in this way, we cannot become filial children or patriots.
아버님 역시 하늘 앞에 효자가 되고 충신이 되기 위해서 그러한 노정을 걸으시고 또 그러한 때가 많이 있었던 것입니다.
Father also went this kind of a course in order to become a filial child and a patriot in the presence of heaven.
아버님 말씀은 앞으로 우리를 이단자로 모은 사람들은 비참한 자리에서 얻어먹는 신세가 될 것이라고 말씀하셨습니다.
Father would often say that those who call us heretics will, in the future, go to very difficult and pitiful places.
그러한 때가 되면은 통일교회는 참으로 때를 맞는 것입니다.
And that would be the time he'd say when the time of the Unification Church would come.
그때에 정말로 통일교인들이 밥을 빌어먹는 그 밥 바가지는 정말로 황금 바가지가 될 것입니다.
He said that the bowls in which the Unification Church members would eat their meals would be bowls of gold.
흥부, 농부 얘기와 놀부 얘기와 같은 반대적인 역사가 벌어질 것입니다.
And that the positions of the Unification Church members and those who called us heretics will be completely reversed.
이 한때에 여자로 태어났다면 역사를 대표한 늠름한 용사의 부인이 되어야 하겠습니다.
And the women must become wives of brave soldiers born for the sake of this era.
남자로 태어났다면 정말로 용사가 되어야 하겠습니다.
And men born into this situation must become truly brave men.
우리는 하나님이 소원하셨던 참 부모님이 기대하셨던 하늘나라를 바라보며 충신의 거룩한 자세와 효성이 아주 높은 아들의 그 모습을 그리면서 하루의 생활을 시작하고 한날의 생활을 해야 할 것입니다.
And we must lead lives then of being true filial children and patriots.
여러분의 시선은 그런 것을 바라보고 정말로 기쁜 심정을 가지고 또 그런 생활을 할 것을 다짐해야 할 것입니다.
And we must make a determination to accomplish this.
오늘 여러분들이 정말로 뜻 때문에 여러분들의 얼굴이 검어지고 또 30, 40, 50이 되었다고 한다면은 정말로 여러분은 자랑스러운 통일교회의 정말로 효부로서 효녀로서 나타나기에 부족함이 없을 것입니다.
Whether you are in your 30s or 40s or 50s, you should live your lives for the sake of God's will and become proud members of the Unification Church.
고생을 많이 하고 이 길을 따라 나왔다고 한다면 그것은 한이 되는 것이 아니라 정말로 부모의 심정으로 보면 태양과 같이 빛나는 것입니다.
And if you have had a difficult life until now, that should not be a source of resentment. Instead, it should be you should realize that this has been an opportunity for you to understand the heart of the parent more deeply.
별과 같이 자극되는 초점이 되는 것입니다.
And this is those difficulties will be like stars in the night sky that will guide you.
효자는 가정에서 자기의 처자보다도 부모를 더 사랑하고 공경하며 위해주는 사람입니다.
A filial son is one who honors his parents and lives for the sake of his parents more than he does for the sake of his wife or his children.
그러한 사람만이 하나님의 사랑과 참 부모님의 접할 수 있는 자리에 설 수 있는 가정의 중심이 될 것입니다.
It is only that kind of a man who can become the center of his family, who is able to connect with the true parents.
그러한 사람만이 부모로부터 일체를 상속받을 수 있으며 또한 자녀에게 상속해 줄 수 있는 자리에 설 수 있을 것입니다.
And only that kind of a man can truly form a family that is united with the true parents and can then pass on that position to his children.
바로 이것이 하나님의 참 사랑의 이상을 실현시킬 수 있는 정말로 승리자의 모습으로 나타날 수 있을 것입니다.
Is that person who can become the victor, who is able to realize God's will on this earth.
애국자는 누구를 두고 이르는 말인 줄 압니까? 아느냐?
Do you know who is a true patriot?
효자의 입장을 국가적인 차원으로 확대시켜가는 사람입니다.
He said that is the person who takes that model of the filial son in the family and expands it to the level of the nation.
자기의 부모나 자기의 처자 이상으로 자기 나라와 국민을 사랑하는 사람입니다.
It is a person who loves his nation more than he loves his parents or his wife or his children.
자기의 부모가 병에 걸렸다면은 자기 목숨을 내걸어놓고라도 부모를 살리려는 참 효자의 심정을 가지고 국가와 민족을 위하고 사랑하는 사람은 틀림없이 애국자가 될 것입니다.
A filial son is one who, if his parents are ill, will even put his life at risk in order to find a way to cure that illness. And so, if a person takes that same heart that he has towards his parents and applies that to the nation, then that is the person who can become a true patriot.
자기 아들, 딸을 사랑하고 자기 아내를 사랑하던 그 사랑의 기준 이상으로 확대시켜서 전체를 사랑하게 되면 하나님이 함께 하시지 않을 수 없다는 것을 여러분 알아주기를 바랍니다.
Please understand that if you expand your heart that way from the family level to the national level, then God will surely be with you.
자기의 처자를 사랑하는 사랑의 기준을 그대로 횡적으로 연결시켜서 그 이웃과 그 사회와 그 국민과 그 국가를 사랑할 수 있는 사람이 여러분들이 되어 주기를 바랍니다.
I ask that you become people who can take this heart of love for your wife and children, expand that horizontally so that you can love the nation and the people of the nation with that same heart.
그리하여 그 이웃과 그 사회와 그 민족과 국가를 사랑할 수 있는 사람이 바로 여러분들이 되어 주기를 바랍니다.
That you will love the nation, that you will love the people of the nation, and love your community, and love your neighbors in that way.
그가 속한 사회 전체를 하나로 일치시키고 참 사랑과 화기가 넘치는 사회로 만드는 사람이 참다운 효자 효녀이며 참다운 애국자가 될 수 있습니다.
The person who can, in that way, build a society that is filled with love and harmony is the true filial son and
그러나
the true
애국자는
patriot.
한 나라에 그치고 맙니다. 애국자가 정말로 애국자의 도리에서만 머물게 된다면 그는 그 나라 백성으로부터 사랑하고 존경받는 그 나라의 애국자는 될지언정 세계를 사랑하는 자리에는 설 수 없을 것입니다.
But a patriot is limited to just that country. Even if a person is loved by his country in that way, or considered a patriot in his country that way, that does not make him a person who loves the world at large.
그러면 성인은 어떤 사람이냐 하면은 그 성인의 도리는 무엇이냐? 애국자의 도리를 초월한 도리가 성인의 도리입니다.
So who is a saint in the world? A saint in the world is a patriot who then to expands that love that he has for the nation to the worldwide level.
애국자의 기준은 세계로까지 확대시켜서 세계와 온 인류를 위하여 사는 사람입니다.
A saint is one who lives for the entire world and for all of humanity.
천정의 인연을 따라 부모 앞에 효자가 되고 나라 앞에 애국자 충신이 되는 이상으로 세계와 인류를 사랑하는 여러분들이 되어 주기를 바랍니다.
A saint is a person who takes this love that he has for his parents and the love for the nation and expands that and to actually lives for the sake of the world, even more than he lives for the sake of his nation. And that's the kind of people that I would like for you to become.
그런 사람은 한 종족과 민족을 초월하고 국가를 초월해서 전 세계가 나가는 길에 초점을 맞추고 세계를 살리기 위해 일생을 희생하는 자리에 설 수 있는 분입니다.
That person will transcend all nations and nationalities and races, and he will live for the sake of saving the world, bringing salvation to the world.
이것이 성자가 가는 길이고 성자가 간 후에야 성자가 갖추어야 할 도리입니다.
And so this is the path of the saint and the path that the saint must go.
이거 옛날에 아버님이 말씀하셨던 걸 제가 지금 오늘 그 기도 가져오면서 기도 내용을 가지고 오면서 여기 쓴 그 말씀이에요.
So these words were spoken by Father in the past, and I have given them to you together with his prayers.
여러분은 부모와 민족과 나라 세계를 위해서 사는 책임을 졌으니 효자 충신 성인의 길을 가는 값진 사람들이 되어 주기를 바랍니다.
Please become valuable people of value in the world who live for your parents, for your nation, and for the world at large.
여러분은 세계 앞에 길이 빛나는 영원히 이 땅을 비춰있는 별이 되어 주기를 바랍니다. 감사합니다.
Please become like stars that shine brightly in the world and live for the sake of the world. Thank you very much.
And we'll be right back after
아버님
a short
말씀.
break. Stay with us.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. to the best in compact concealed carry. Carr Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Friday, April 28th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungja Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. And now to our top stories of the day, a very interesting article by Paul Craig Roberts, former Department of Treasury employee, and within the deep state. He was a member of the deep state. Here he is writing about Trump, quote, now a captive of the deep state. Can the world survive the evil that is concentrated in Washington? When the gullible and insouciant American public and the prostitutes who participate in the deceptions permitted by the deep state to get away with the fairy tale that a few Saudi Arabians under the direction of Osama bin Laden without the support of any government or intelligence agency were able to outwit the entirety of the Western alliance and Israel's Mossad and deliver the greatest humiliation in history to the world's only superpower by making the entirety of the U.S. government dysfunctional on September 9th, 2001, 9/11, Washington learned that it could get away with anything, any illegal and treasonous act, any lie. The gullible Western populations would believe anything they were told. Not only insouciant Americans, but much of the world accepts any statement out of Washington as the truth, despite the evidence. If Washington said it, Washington's vassals in Germany, France, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, Netherlands, Belgium, and Japan assent to the obvious lie as if it were the obvious truth. So do the CIA purchase media of the vassal states, a collection of whores who prefer CIA subsidies to truth. When Obama inherited the deep state agenda from George Bush, he set up Syria's Assad for regime change by repeating for many months that if Assad used chemical weapons in the civil war that Washington had sent ISIS to conduct, Assad would have crossed the red line that Obama had drawn and would, as a consequence, face an invasion by the U.S. military, just as Iraq had been invaded based on Washington's lie about the weapons of mass destruction. Having burnt this idea into the feeble minds of the Western populations, Obama then arranged for a chemical weapon to be exploded in Syria and blamed it on Assad. Thus, the red line had been crossed. The insouciant West was told, and America would now invade. The UK Prime Minister, the usual piece of Washington-owned garbage, rushed to the support of the American invasion, promising British support. But the British Parliament voted no. The MPs said that the UK was not going to support another American war crime, justified by obvious lies. Only in Britain does democracy still have any teeth, as we saw a second time with the Brexit vote. All the rest of the West lives in vassalage and slavery. The Russian government also took a firm stand, admitting that Russia stupidly trusted America in Libya, but no more. We, said the Russians, will ourselves remove any and all chemical weapons from Syria and turn them over to the Western civilization to be destroyed, which the Russians did. What did Western civilization do with the weapons? They gave them to ISIS. This gave Washington a second chance to accuse Assad of using chemical weapons against his own people, and so Washington has rolled out this hoax a second time. During a Syrian Air Force attack on an ISIS position, a chemical weapon exploded, or so it is alleged. Instantly, Washington said that Assad had used sarin gas against his own people. Trump was shown photos of dead babies and stupidly ordered a U.S. military strike against Syria. This was the first time that Washington had engaged in an unambiguous war crime without any cover. Trump had no UN resolution, not even one that could be stood on its head in Libya. Trump had no NATO participation, no George Bush coalition of the willing to give cover to the war crime with the support of other governments. There are no skirts for Trump to hide behind. He stupidly let himself be pushed into committing an ambiguous war crime, an unambiguous. Now all his opponents, the deep state, the military security complex, the CIA, the Hillary Democrats, the warmonger Republicans, have the new White House fool under their control. If Trump doesn't do as they want, they will impeach him for his war crime. Meanwhile, the risk of war with the Russian, Chinese, Iranian, Syrian alliance grows closer. The U.S. shows every intention of provoking this war. Washington has imposed sanctions on 271 employees of Syria's Scientific Studies and Research Center for, in Washington's lying words, responsibility for developing and producing non-conventional weapons and the means to deliver them. In order to make this false charge stick, Washington prevented any investigation whatsoever into the facts of the alleged chemical weapon associated with Western propaganda, not by any known fact with a Syrian air attack on ISIS. If Washington is so certain that Syria is responsible, why does Washington block an investigation? If Washington is right, an investigation would prove Washington's case. But as Washington is again lying through its teeth, an investigation would prove the contrary. And that is what Washington fears and is the reason Washington blocked an investigation. Why do Western peoples believe the U.S. government, a well-proven liar, who blocks an investigation and asserts that everyone must believe Washington or else be put on a list of Russian agents? Here is a lie, the raw propaganda that the U.S. government has no qualms about issuing. It comes from the U.S. Department of the Treasury, in which I once served honorably, but honor no longer exists in this U.S. Treasury. Are Western populations intelligent enough to understand that the only reason for Washington to block an investigation of the alleged use of by Syria of a chemical weapon is that the facts clearly do not support Washington's lie? No, they are not. Theodore Postel, a scientist at MIT, has concluded from his investigation that the chemical weapon was not dropped from the air, but was set off on the ground, and that it was not sarin gas or sarin lingers, and the alleged aid workers who were immediately on the scene were unprotected by gloves or masks or by anything. If the gas were sarin gas, they would be dead also. The Russian explanation is that Syrian Air Force attack hit a storage facility conveniently arranged by Washington that contained chemical weapons. I have seen reports that Washington or Washington's vassals, such as Saudi Arabia, have proved ISIS with chemical weapons provided. President Putin of Russia says that the reason Washington has delivered chemical weapons to ISIS is that there can be more orchestrated instances of their use that can be blamed on Assad. I think I can say in complete confidence that this is what is happening. Washington tends to wear Russia down with orchestrated chemical attack after chemical attack, portraying Russia as an inhumane defender of Assad's alleged chemical attacks, in order to more thoroughly isolate Russia and in order to provoke opposition to Putin's government, especially among the US and German financed NGOs that Russia stupidly permits to operate in Russia and in the Russian media. Washington's goal is to force, by the weight of the world opinion, Putin to abandon Assad to Washington. U.S. Secretary of State Tillerson, another gigantic disappointment to those who hope for peaceful relations between U.S., Russia, China, Iran, Syria, has said that the U.S. still intends regime change in Syria. Tillerson has advised Russia to get out of Washington's way and to consider carefully their support for Bashar al-Assad. Russia cannot abandon Assad because if Syria falls to Washington, Iran will be next, and then the Washington-financed jihadis will be set upon the Muslim populations of the Russian Federation and China. This is Washington's game plan. I'm certain Putin is aware of it, and I think the Chinese are, despite their inordinate focus on making money. The questions before us could not be any clearer. Will Russia and China break and give in to Washington? If not, will Washington become a good world citizen for the first time in America's history? Or will Washington issue more threats, thereby convincing Russia and China that their alternative is to wait for Washington's preemptive nuclear strike or deliver one themselves? This is the only question that the world faces that is worth our attention. I spent a quarter century in Washington. The evil that is in control there at the present time is unprecedented. I have never seen anything like it. Can the world survive the evil that is concentrated in Washington? Evil that has the support of the governments of the Western world. There you go, by Paul Craig Roberts. Far left Austrian president says all women must wear headscarves to fight Islamophobia. There you go, women. Wear the symbol of complete misogyny and oppression of women to fight Islamophobia. You have to be a protector of Sharia law. You have to wear your headscarf to be trendy. You have to wear your hijab and burqa and give in and surrender to
Es ist
Sharia
das
law.
Recht der Frau,
So that
Männer auch
you can be
Kopftücher,
guilt
ne?
shamed, and so
Es
you
ist
so that
Recht der
you
Frau,
can
sich zu kleiden,
claim
wie
that
auch
you are not
immer
Islamophobic
sie
when you
möchte.
are
Das ist
surrendering
meine
to the
Meinung
culture
dazu.
of misogyny,
Im Übrigen
female
nicht nur
genital
muslimische
mutilation,
Frauen, jede Frau kann ein
abuse of
Kopftuch
women,
tragen.
rape,
Und wenn es so
etc., slave,
weitergeht, und
having
damit bin ich
slave
schon bei der
women,
nächsten
etc.
Frage, bei dieser tatsächlich um sich greifenden
There you go, these German
Islamophobie,
elitist,
dann wird
globalist,
noch der Tag kommen, wo wir alle
archangel
Frauen bitten müssen, ein
politicians
Kopftuch zu tragen.
telling, this is the president of Austria, by the way,
Solidarität gegenüber
all women
jemandem,
must
das
wear
ist
headscarves to
Widerstand.
fight Islamophobia. And there you go, folks. There you go. This is the lunacy of the left. And of course, they show you again where they are at. Their vision for you women is to be in burqas and hijabs. When will people learn that giving in and surrendering to evil never makes it better, only makes it worse? And it's very interesting that the lunatic left is allying with radical jihadi Islam, isn't it? But of course, they're fighting for the same thing, centralized totalitarian power. And they actually think they can knock each other off in the end. And the way to do this is to get these young, brain-dead Berkeley students and these brain-dead, indoctrinated public school students to literally believe that Islam is the most tolerant ideology on the planet.
You know, in the past, the radical left in America was in favor of Stalin, was in favor of Mao, was in favor
Right.
of even of Hitler before the Second
There
World
you
War.
go. That's right. Anything for totalitarian gain and centralized power, they will support. And there they are again saying that women should wear headscarves to not hurt the feeling of jihadis. Don't hurt their feelings, Tim. Force your wife to wear a headscarf. You're hurting the jihadis' feelings who want to murder you and who want to steal your daughters and rape them. You don't want to hurt their feelings now, right? You see this? This is the lunacy, loony bin that we've become. Oh my gosh, today I'm so tired today because we have to do like 8 miles, 10 miles today, 8 to 10 miles today, trekking with 50-pound packs. So already mentally, I'm tired. I'm already tired mentally because I know right after the King's Report, we got to go train. And oh my gosh, oh my Lord, it is brutal to hold a 50-pound pack and travel up these 30-degree hills for 9-10 miles. Oh my gosh, it's brutal. We just got a letter from Phil Raven because the Classic is coming up in about a month and a half now, and telling everybody prepare, pushing everybody to prepare. Tomorrow morning we have a turkey hunt with Christina. The Queen is going, and one of our children, I think Shimpat, is going to be going, and unlocking that epigenetic. But again, then we can't really train on Saturday. Because we'll be hunting that day. I've never been her turkey hunting. Actually, it's the first experience. Christina said it's an amazing experience. Like in the morning, you go out there before the dawn, and you can actually hear the turkeys coming down from the trees. And you can hear them starting to move in the morning. And you have to stay, and they actually can see orange. So you can't wear blaze orange. You have to wear complete camo, natural camo. And it's my first time turkey hunting, and I don't think I'll be shooting. I think Shimpa will be shooting tomorrow, but I'll be tagging along to check it out. And we're going to be in like full ninja ghillie suit camo. Like I could be sitting in a bush and you could walk right, but you won't even know I'm there. You know what I'm saying? That's basically what we're going to be doing tomorrow in the morning. So that is an exciting sort of natural experience that we'll be having tomorrow. But I'm already so mentally drained because we have to do 8 to 10 miles today with 50-pound packs. I feel like I'm going to pass out right now. We'll be right back after the short break. Oh, Lord mercy.
looking back at me? Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and be loved. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these, when we love the least of these. Break our hearts once again. Help us to remember when we were only children hoping for a friend. Won't you look around? These are the lives that the world has forgotten, waiting for doors of our hearts and our homes to open. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these, when we love the least of these. If not us, who will be like Jesus to the least of these? If not us, tell me who will be like Jesus to the least of these. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love. Little hands, shoeless feet, lonely eyes looking back at me. Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and be loved. Boys become kings,
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Friday, April 28, 2017. I am your host, Young Deshaun Moon, the second king of Chaniguk. And another top news, George Soros has ruined the lives of millions of Europeans, says Hungarian Prime Minister. There you go, folks. Viktor Orban, Hungary's Prime Minister, delivered a stinging speech of the EU in the European Parliament Wednesday, asserting Hungary's right to self-governance and defending its actions regarding immigration and against American financial speculator George Soros. I know that the power, size, and weight of Hungary is much smaller than that of the financial speculator George Soros, who is now attacking Hungary, Orban said. Despite ruining the lives of millions of Europeans with his financial speculations, being penalized in Hungary for speculations, and who is an openly admitted enemy of the euro, he is so highly praised that he is received by the EU's top leaders, he said. The Prime Minister's address built upon comments he made in Easter interview with Magyar Igok, in which he stated the motives behind Hungary's diffidence towards George Soros. There can be no special privileges, and no one may stand above the law, not even George Soros' people, he said. Through his organizations in Hungary and hidden from the public gaze, Orban said, George Soros is spending endless amounts of money to support illegal immigration. To pursue his interests, he pays a number of lobbying organizations operating in the guise of civil society. He maintains a regular network with his own promoters, its own media, hundreds of people, and its own university. I believe that George Soros must not be underestimated. He is a powerful billionaire of enormous determination who, when it comes to his interests, respects neither God nor man, he said. In his address before Parliament Wednesday, Orban said that the basic stance of the government is contrary to the intentions of the European Commission regarding immigration. Our position is clear. We do not want and do not think it is in accordance with the founding treaties of the Union to settle migrants in our country in a mandatory way, he said. The decision on who we live with can only be made by the Hungarian citizens. And now this is a prime minister that actually cares about his citizenry, isn't it? Look at this.
Hungary and Poland have both said that they don't want to have to live up to the quotas that have been assigned to them by the European Commission.
Assigned.
Yes. And
There you
so
go.
the European Commission in response says, well, if you don't want to do that, then you may have to leave.
Or may wage war on you like they said with Britain. The prime minister said it is important to note that George Soros and his NGOs want to transport 1 million migrants to the EU per year. George Soros wants 1 million migrants to the EU per year. That's a takeover. That's a complete takeover. Can you imagine in the medieval ages and or the Muslim conquest ages if 1 million Muslims went into Europe per year? That's conquest. That's
We'd all be speaking Arabic today.
That's total invasion. That is complete invasion. And the globalists want them in because they want to implode it and get rid of any form of democracy because they don't want any freedom. They don't want any success stories because, hey, if the tyrants, peoples, and the citizenry which they're oppressing see some success stories, Tim, they may want it.
Yes.
They may want it. They may want the success that free nations have.
Yes.
But no, we can't have that. We can't have that for the people. We can't have that for the citizenry. They must stay as slaves and animals to be tax farmed. There you go. 1 million migrants to the EU per year. That's what George Soros is pushing for. He has personally publicly announced this program and provides a financial loan for it. You could read this yourself, says Prime Minister of Hungary. We reject this, Orban said. We do not want to lose the right of national rate making for public utilities because we fear that this would increase the burdens of the people and once again lead to drastic price increases from which Hungarian families have suffered enough. It's interesting with these Europeans. They're not only racist against blacks and Africans, etc. They are racist against other whites. They see Polish and Hungaries as the poor whites.
Yes.
And they are the elite whites.
Yes.
They are the rich whites. They are the Rothschild whites, the royal whites, the Austro-Hungarian empire coming from the Austro-Hungarian empire. But it's interesting how they see other whites as low-class whites, poor whites seen as slave whites.
Yes, East Europeans. So,
Eastern Europeans, yeah. There you go. The complicated question, he said, is how we can make the operations of financially strong foreign external lobbies willing to influence democratic decision-making transparent to everyone. The Hungarian legislation builds on the principle of clarity and transparency. We want nothing else but to be able to know of NGOs what kind of money and what kind of interests are behind them. This does not undermine their constitutional rights to have their voices heard, represent their interests, and be able to organize themselves freely, he said. Orban says that Hungarians are in favor of straight talk and reject attempts to beat around the bush or hide behind diplomatic language when discussing important issues. We talk clearly and unambiguously so everyone can understand. Even if we know that this may not appeal to everyone, he said, we on the other hand are irritated by the restrained political language, unable to name things for what they are, that has become widespread in European public life nowadays. So there you go, the collapse of Europe and the conquest of Europe being done right before our eyes in slow motion. Here is the total pedophile-eyed Adam Schiff, complete lunatic. Here we go.
The election has a lot of different tentacles to it, and one of the main ones is, was there any proof of collusion between Russian operatives and Trump campaign and now administration? We just heard Republican Congressman Peter King said he has seen no proof of that to this point. He's on the House Intel Committee. Just put out their
and we are having some internet and technical difficulties there. But there you go. Adam Schiff, Democrat from California, responded to Peter King's statement that he has seen no proof of collusion between Russia and Trump campaign by saying, I have to disagree with my colleague in terms of whether there's evidence of collusion. I believe that there is. Schiff later added that it's certainly premature to say that there will be no proof of collusion. There you go. Anchor Chris Cuomo asked Schiff, no proof, Peter King says. I've seen no proof of collusion between Trump campaign and Russia. Carter Page says the allegations are laughable. What do you say? Schiff answered, well, Carter Page is a person of interest with the committee, and I think probably likely to come before the committee, so I don't want to comment on anything else he's particularly. But I do think that we need to get to the bottom of these allegations of collusion or coordination. I disagree with my colleagues in terms of whether there is any evidence of collusion. I believe that there is, but nonetheless, this is something we need to investigate. I think there was a reason why the FBI began its investigation, why it continues that investigation. I don't think it's something the FBI does without any basis. But that's about as much as I can say without going into particulars. I will say this, I think it would be deeply irresponsible for us not to follow the facts wherever they lead, to do it objectively and not to predetermine a conclusion. But there's certainly, as we have seen from many of the public reports, ample reason to do this investigation. He later added the investigation shouldn't be seen as a failure if we do our job and we follow the facts wherever they lead and we reach a unified conclusion. We shouldn't go into this with the object that we want to score this political point or that political point, or we want to come up with ultimately a certain conclusion. We'll be doing our job if we thoroughly investigate this and if we can reach some sound determination about what happened, what the Russians did, the different levers that Russians pulled. We know that Russians use a variety of techniques to interfere in elections in Europe. We know that they use some of those techniques here and want to find out about everything the Russians did. Schiff was later asked, can you say with confidence at this point that it's premature for people to say there is going to be no proof of collusion? He said, yes, it's certainly premature. And one of the challenges we have, Chris, in the investigation is there are members of the Gang of Eight in the committee that have received certain information. And then there's the rest of the committee members. And what I've been urging the FBI is to share that information that the Gang of Eight has received with the full committee so that we're all on the same page, we're all doing the same investigation. But that's an issue that has yet to be resolved. There you go. Democrat Schiff says, I believe there's evidence. And then he says it's premature to say there will be no proof. Oh, Lord. I mean, these people just make me sick. They make me tired. I'm very tired even thinking about them, and especially thinking about my 10-mile trek that I have to do today. Rand Paul on Congress should think about whether it should send money to universities that only have one set of speech. That's absolutely right. They should cut funding to those universities that are censoring people and not allowing the the other side to be heard. Absolutely. Don't fund those kind of universities. They're not institutions of learning. They're institutions of indoctrination. Rand Paul being absolutely right again, as I try to save my energy and not get too worked up for my training today. Federal law doesn't require healthcare providers to report female genital mutilation. Oh, Lord. Oh. Despite 500,000 at risk. The barbaric practice of female genital mutilation, a procedure made unlawful by the Illegal Immigrant Reform and Immigrant Responsibility Act of 1996, has been thrust to the fore of public debate in the United States following the arrests of Dr. Jumana Nagawala, Dr. Fakhruddin Attar, and Attar's wife Farida in Michigan this month. According to reports, several young Somali girls were brought from Minnesota, one of 24 states that have passed legislation to make female genital mutilation illegal according to state laws, to Michigan, one of 26 states in the FGM has not been made illegal in state law, where Dr. Nagawala, with assistance from Mrs. Attar, performed the procedure outlawed by federal law in a medical office owned by Dr. Attar. Since 1996, there have been specific federal criminal penalties for performing FGMC in the United States on anyone under 18 years old, including fines up to 5 years in prison or both. In 2013, Congress amended the federal statute relating to FGMC to criminalize the knowing transportation of a girl under 18 years old from the United States for the purpose of performing FGMC abroad, often referred to as vacation cutting. According to the June 2016 Government Accountability Office, says report female genital mutilation and cutting. The current federal statute, which codifies both the 1996 law and 2013 law, can be seen here at U.S. Code Title 18, Part 1, Chapter 7, 116, female genital mutilation. Surprisingly, neither the 1996 federal law that outlawed FGM nor the 2013 federal law that outlawed vacation cutting requires healthcare providers to report known or suspected instances of FGM to local, state, or federal health authorities or law enforcement. Current federal law criminalizes the practice of FGM, but does not specifically require reporting on it, though healthcare providers are obligated to report instances of child abuse, a category in which FGM falls. With this paucity of reporting data, two recent studies, one by the Population Reference Bureau, another by the Centers for Disease Control, have used demographic analysis to estimate the number of women who have undergone FGM or are at risk of the procedure in the United States exceeds 500,000. There you go. Of course, yesterday we covered the reality that female genital mutilation, or what's known as cutting practices, traditionally called circumcision in Islam, is a prescribed Islamic practice. And there is not one Islamic scholar, as David Wood put out in his new video, and we saw it yesterday, show that are opposed to it.
Did you see this Breitbart article? The New York Times editor will not use the term female genital mutilation because it's culturally loaded and divides people.
There you go. Even though, they always want to say that it's not a Muslim issue and that Christians do it and everybody else do it, and it's an African problem, like Aslan says, or Reza Aslan on CNN says, or Linda Sarsour, the fake feminist, says. They always are saying that it's not Islamic. When David Wood shows, not only in the Ahadith by Al-Bukhari and Al-Muslim, the two main, most preeminent commentators and hadiths in Islam, and I'm not an expert, but he showed it, that whole thing showing that even the law courts in Islam and the major Islamic scholars, not one, sees it as illegal or haram. But that it is not only encouraged, it is prescribed depending on their interpretation, but there is clear hadith where Muhammad says both circumcision for men and women. There you go. It is a not only a cultural tradition of that part of the world, it is a ideological religious prescription in Islam. And so we saw that in the David Wood report yesterday. Report, Detroit FGM doctor mutilated girls far worse than she admits. The Detroit Free Press reported Thursday that documents obtained by the paper show much more serious mutilation of Dr. Jumana Nagawalla's alleged victim's genitals than the doctor admitted. They always say it's just a little piece of the clitoris that's cut off. That's up for debate on what the doctor wants to do in Islam, depending on certain hadith and interpretation of hadith. The entire clitoris can be removed. And of course, the clitoris is the place where a woman is able to feel sexual pleasure. So it completely removes the ability for women to enjoy sex in their future life with their husband. It's completely removed. It's like removing the frenulum on a penis, which is the main stimulating area for the penis. It's like removing that. It completely removes the enjoyment of sexuality for the woman with her husband. The arrest of Dr. Nagawalla and 2 others last week represent the first federal female genital mutilation investigation in the United States history. FGM is common in the Islamic world, particularly in Africa. According to UNICEF, 98% of Somali girls, wow, 98% of Somali girls are mutilated. 87% of Egyptians are mutilated. Wow, look at that. You see that? How many is that? That's millions and millions of girls.
So it's 200 million worldwide.
That's incredible. FGM involves removing varying amounts of the victim's, usually a prepubescent girl's clitoris, labia majora, and labia minora. In its most extreme form, the victim is infibulated, having virtually all her external genitalia removed and being sewn up,
Yes.
leaving her with only a tiny hole from which to urinate and menstruate. So they actually sew her up to prevent her from having premarital sex.
And also to cause pain during sex, so they don't want to have sex.
Wow, yeah, there you go. And see, this is what you get when you federally enforce what should be enforced by conscience.
Yes.
People are meant to be have freedom but responsibility, and they're supposed to inhibit themselves from sexual activity before marriage because of their conscience, because they have a heart that loves God, and or they don't want to sell themselves out to be whores. They want to save themselves and have sex to be a holy institution which they want to share with their husband, and not with countless men who will steal it and destroy them psychologically, spiritually, mentally, etc. But again, this is a barbaric practice, and it is the first case of FGM investigation by the United States, and apparently it is much more extreme than this doctor said. The alleged victim's genitals are much more mutilated, shows much more serious mutilation than what the doctors admitted. We're going to be right back after this, covering more of the top news. Stay with us.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Carr Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit carr.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
And we are back. Welcome back to the King's Report. I'm your host, Hyungja Sean Moon, the second king of Chanuguk. Getting back to the Satanic Kingdom. And covering the Satanic Kingdom, folks, is very tiring sometimes because it's so demonic. And to stare into the abyss of evil and propaganda and just constant lying is so taxing the soul. But again, those who are vigilant must be vigilant. We must be vigilant. We must see the nature of the beast. We must understand the nature of the beast. It's so tempting to want to float away into oblivion and float away into happy thoughts and float away into fake reality and delusional visualizations. But the reality is that these types of individuals and predators are in positions of power, and that is a serious threat to humanity's freedom and sovereignty. Hollywood director Joss Whedon sexualizes, mocks young cancer survivors meeting with Paul Ryan, even though we don't like Paul Ryan here. Hollywood director Joss Whedon faced heat on Twitter Thursday after he sexualized and mocked a meeting between Paul Ryan and a group of young cancer survivors. Tonight on White House Wife Hunt, Donnie makes host Paul Ryan give 2 more contestants the not a 10 card, wrote Whedon on Twitter, along with a picture of the meeting that shows 2 young girls with Ryan. The original post made by Ryan explained that the photograph captured a meeting between teens who shared some powerful stories with me about their fight against childhood cancer. This is the original picture of these teens who fought childhood cancer and survived. The Avengers director and Buffy the Vampire Slayer creator quickly faced criticism for his post, even being accused of sexualizing the young girls in an attempt to attack President Trump. One person said, "Joss, I love you, but these are like teen girls you just put down. Play fair, insult the adults. Plus, putting down girls is not your thing." Cal Salmon said, "Dude, they're childhood cancer survivors. What the hell is wrong with you?" Josh Whedon tweets, "I never let them see the worst of me down here." And Kyle Salmon says, "I think you just did." Another person says, "Look, man, I hate Trump, but these are kids, and this joke is way missing the mark." Mike Cernovich says, "Those are cancer patients, Joss, and some are underage. What is wrong with you?" And here's his tweet. Tonight on White House Wife Hunt, Donnie makes host Paul Ryan give 2 more contestants the not a 10 card, mocking cancer survivors. Teenage cancer survivors, this is sick stuff you see in Hollywood. What else does Joss do? As young cancer survivors, they look a hell of a lot better than you. Then your Nicole Kidman, Gingham Baker mashup, replied Red State Jay Caruso. And there's that idiot when he was young, the little hippie. Charlie Lash says, "Only you could turn a meeting with young cancer survivors into a meme, you despicable human being." There you go. As of writing, the post is still on Twitter, and Whedon, who is a vocal left-wing and anti-Trump activist, has yet to make an apology. Last year, Whedon expressed his partisanship, declaring that Trump cannot be allowed a term in office, before he also assembled a group of actors from his popular Avengers movies for an anti-Trump campaign advert. In January, Whedon compared Ivanka Trump to a dog, while in the same month, he also announced that he wanted a Rhino 2F Paul Ryan to death. That is the tolerant liberal tolerance out in Hollywood. There you go.
I don't know why they're putting down Ivanka Trump. She's their only hope.
Exactly. Well, at that time, he didn't know that.
See.
And he was, of course, and that's not misogynist. If you attack a conservative woman, they thought she was conservative. She's not. But if you attack a conservative woman, well, that's not misogynist.
Right.
That is tolerant. If you attack a liberal woman, well, now you're all of a sudden misogynist. There you go, Tim. There you go. There's the constant double standard of the lunatic leftist fantasy land. OC high teachers had sexual relations with student. Police say, oh my gosh, idiots. 2 teachers accused of having sexual relations with an OC high school student have been arrested.
So 2 teachers with the same student, apparently.
The same student, looks like. Oh my gosh. Chad Michael Coy, 27, and Ryan Stewart, 22, were recently arrested after a months-long investigation. Coy, whom the girl also described as her lacrosse coach, was arrested Wednesday night on charges of unlawful sexual activity with minors and sexual offenses against students by authority figures. Kirkpatrick was arrested Friday on similar charges. News 6 spoke with the alleged 17-year-old victim's father in November when the teachers were placed on leave. The man said his daughter admitted to having a sexual relation with the 2 teachers at her school. He said the first incident took place during a drill when the school was on lockdown, when one of the teachers and the girl were alone. The father said that there were 2 other incidents. After that, they happened when the girl stayed after school in a teacher's classroom. The father said the teen handed over her phone to police for review. Recorded phone message was sent to parents, letting them know that the employees were put on relief of duty. Both men have not worked at the school since November 1st. Kirkpatrick's bond was set at $50,000 for each felony charge. News 6 spoke to the parents and students Thursday who were surprised to learn of the arrest. It's just a shocker because you trust teachers with your kids.
Why? I mean, these kinds of stories seem to be appearing once a week these days.
Yeah, and not only these men, you see the ones with the women, there's women teacher predators who are also preying on young boys.
Right, right.
It is absolutely egregious, and of course this is pedophilia.
Yes.
There you go. Blue Testament porn star angers churchgoers by declaring she is an evangelical Christian, and God sees nothing wrong with her work. Oh, yes, of course. She's doing God's work by banging, AIDS-ridden men in pornos. A porn star has outraged churchgoers by declaring she's an evangelical Christian who believes there's nothing wrong with her work in the eyes of God.
May I want to check with God on that.
Oh, my Lord. This is a girl who does not read her Bible. And this is a girl that is completely living in delusion. My goodness. Camila Warneck is one of the hottest adult movie stars in Brazil and has appeared in hundreds of erotic movies. There you go. Camila Warneck says there's nothing wrong with her lifestyle in the eyes of God. Nothing wrong with her lifestyle in the eyes of God. The 25-year-old grew up in a deeply religious household but has turned to a life of porn. She's appeared in hundreds of XXS movies and says she loves people watching her have sex. Now, the 25-year-old who grew up in a deeply religious household has caused controversy with her claims in an interview on X-rated TV show Pornolandia. The hardcore actress declares herself she has an evangelical faith and says she doesn't believe it clashes with her career because she's a good person at heart. Oh my gosh. This girl has no idea. She's totally clueless on even salvation. She thinks you have to have a good heart to be saved. It's not about having a good heart to be saved. It's all what Jesus did for you.
Yes.
Wow. And of course, she's crapping and pissing on Jesus, who died for her, claiming that Jesus is happy with what she's doing, banging these STD-ridden male prostitutes and being a hoe herself. She's a hoe too. Oh my Lord. Host Nicole Puzzi, who has interviewed dozens of sex industry stars, appeared surprised as she asked, but how do you relate that to your work? Because people believe a porno actress cannot be evangelical and cannot be religious. The curvaceous brunette insists people are very judgmental. They try to make you conform in a way they think an evangelical should be because society says so. No, because the Bible says so. You see that, girl? It's not society there attacking you. Society is paying you and watching you have sex and banging tens of thousands of men. That's not society. Society is not your enemy there, okay? Society is not the one condemning you. Society is buying your naked flesh. It's the Bible that's saying, don't do that. You have to save yourself for marriage. You have honor and you should be virtuous and you should Love the God who died for you. Love the person who died and paid for your sins because you're a spoiled brat little slut girl. And what you're doing harms and hurts God's heart. That's the reason why you shouldn't do it, even though you're saved. You are not saved because of your good heart or you have good feelings about yourself and you have confidence in what you're doing. It's society that's praising you for this. It's society that's paying you for this. It's society that's buying your pornos. It's not the Bible. And the Bible says we should judge. It says judge with righteousness. So we are supposed to judge with righteousness. We're supposed to judge with God's word. And we're supposed to condemn evil. Especially when people are trying to say, I'm Christian, I'm evangelical. There's many ways to be evangelical, even though I'm committing all sorts of sin and harming and doing everything antithesis to what God says. It said, prove yourself that you are amongst the faith. Test yourself. It says, the Bible says, if you love God, you will follow his commands. There you go.
I think she's just an extreme example of what many people do, as you said.
That's correct.
Yeah.
I mean, that would definitely be an extreme example, wouldn't
Yeah.
it?
A lot
I
of
mean,
people
hundreds
think,
of porno videos and banging hundreds of thousands of men on, or thousands of men on camera. Mm-hmm. I mean, this is ridiculous. I mean, the Bible is very clear that one has to save oneself before marriage, and the institution is holy, and that it's one man, one woman. But of course, on a minor scale, of course, people sin all the time and justify it, saying, don't judge me, don't be judgmental, even the Bible says, judge with righteousness. Video, Maxine Waters suffers brain freeze during rant on North Korea again. Here she is again. Let's see the incredibly, unbelievably inarticulate and commonly having brain freeze, Alzheimer moments, Maxine Waters, Democratic Representative Maxine Waters. Oh my gosh. This is the woman who, by the way, who thought Russia invaded Korea.
yes, yes.
So completely,
So, who's invading Korea now?
completely frozen in her brain. Those in China have a great trading relationship. They sell an awful lot of stuff to North Korea, she said. And so the Chinese president is warning Trump. Okay, don't start talking. Here we go.
Have a great trading relationship. They sell an awful lot of stuff to North Korea. And so this president is warning Trump, okay, don't start talking about preemptive strike. We want a diplomatic solution. We do not want war in North Korea at all.
She forgot what country she was talking about as she was talking about it. Speculating on China's conversation with Trump, the 78-year, look at this, they are just lifelong politicians, lifelong Washingtonians. This woman is worth now millions and millions of dollars in government contracts. Her husband has become completely rich. They came in totally poor, and now they have millions and millions of dollars. This is why these people want to lie their way into power, because they want the money. Not only can they steal and do virtue signaling and pay for their friends and pay for their, little charities that they create to, pretend that they're good people, but they can steal so much money for themselves. Their millions are worth millions and millions of dollars by literally forcing people, stealing people's money by force. You understand? If you don't pay your taxes, you will be put in jail. This is forced theft. And you have these kind of lunatics, Pelosi, Waters, in the tens, if not hundreds of millions of dollars. I think they're in the tens of millions, worth tens of millions of dollars, by forced taxpayer money. Wow. And there you go, the 70-year-old continue. We don't want a war in North Korea. There she goes again. There she goes again. The New York Post reports Obama scores another $400,000 speaking fee amid criticism. He just had a $400,000 speaking fee, and here he goes again for another $400,000 speech to a Wall Street bank. Again, being in the pocket of Wall Street, even though he promised that he would put Wall Street in jail. He shows again that he is in the pocket of Wall Street, cooing up to his funders once again. Emails reveal FBI Justice probe of Burlington College. Burlington, the Justice Department was investigating the activities of now defunct Burlington College as recently as February, according to emails obtained to the public records request. The emails show a U.S. attorney for Vermont and an FBI agent reviewed Burlington College records in the state's possession earlier this year pursuant to an investigation. Both enforcement agencies declined to comment on the substance of that probe or whether it has been completed. It's typical for us not to comment or to confirm whether or not there's a current investigation. We would not comment on any active investigation, said Craig Laporte, a spokesperson for the U.S. Attorney's Office. The chair of the Burlington College Board of Trustees said Thursday that the FBI investigation had been going on for more than a year. In January 2016, after reporting by V.T. Digger showing former Burlington College President Jane Sanders overstated pledged donations in applying for a loan so the school could purchase its former Northampton campus, Republican lawyer Brady Townsend made a formal request to the U.S. Attorney for a fraud investigation. The Vermont Agency of Education took possession of records left at the college in the wake of its sudden closure in May. When a college closes, state law requires the school or the state to keep academic records so students can obtain transcripts and graduate certificates. Burlington College opted to let stand the state handle the process. Agency officials said they found the school's records in disarray in part because of an unsolved burglary. The state, as a result, took possession of non-academic records as well as student records it was required to take. In November, Townsend requested an index of those records in the state possession. Education officials provided lists showing business records, board materials, such as meeting minutes dating back to 1998, and records relating to the school's accreditation. Townsend then filed, okay. So there you go. Here you go. Jane Sanders White's of Bernie Sanders. Vermont overstated donation amounts in a bank application for a $6.7 million loan the college used to purchase a prime 33-acre property on Langship Lane in 2012. So this is the reason why it made Drudge, because it's also connected to the wife of Bernie Sanders in a fraud case. House delays Obamacare vote denying Trump 100-day win. GOP leaders are still struggling to round up enough moderates to get their repeal and replace bill through the chamber, again showing and proving to the public that they don't want to get rid of Obamacare. These people are the ones that helped put it in with the leftist lunatics and the Democrats, the Rhino Republicans, and Paul Ryan helped them put it in because they're getting paybacks from the foreign insurance companies that are able to monopolize through Obamacare and force you to pay ever-increasing premiums and for things that you're not even required for your health or your family to be covered under. Ridiculous. They again are showing that they are in collusion with the deep state. They are part of the problem. And they are not repealing Obamacare, even though they've peddled this and run on this for the last 8+ years, lying to your face, saying they're going to get rid of it, lying to your face, and now they have the power to get rid of it, and they're not freaking getting rid of it. We are sick of these liars. We're going to be back after the short break as I get very tired, preparing for my 10-mile trek up 40-degree hills, 30-degree hills today. We'll be right back. Stay with us.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
are back. Welcome back to the King's Report this Friday, April 28th, 2017. I'm your host, Hyungjin Sean Moon, the second king of Cheongguk. This will be my final segment today as I go prepare for our trekking excursion today up 20 to 30 degree hills with 50-pound packs. And we have to do 8 to 10 miles today, which is absolute torture. We keep on, reminding ourselves that the whole process of about the next 2 months or the next about 1.5 months is pure torture, pure trekking torture. But of course, the great reward is that in the end of June, we'll be able to trek the Rocky Mountains. Hopefully, we will be victorious and no emergencies will be had through a 35-mile trek through the Colorado Rocky Mountains. Is the most difficult trek in the United States. Not necessarily up the mountain we're going, but anyways, the Rocky Mountains being the most difficult in the United States proper, and having an advanced professional trek. This is an advanced level professional trek. It's rated as an advanced trek. So nothing to be musing at, but something definitely that one must train for, and lots of pain must be not only physical pain, but just the constant, brutal, every week training is mentally extremely taxing. Even though you do combat arts, your training sessions last about an hour, maybe 2 hours, okay, which is pretty good. But you think about being brutalized mentally by the deteriorating body for 10, 12, 14 hours, 15 hours a day. Now, on the second day of that trek, we have to walk 15 miles to the Colorado Rocky Mountains, getting up to elevation of 12,600 feet. Okay. First day we have to do 9 miles. Second day we have to do 15 miles. 9 miles takes 8 hours. At least 9 miles takes almost 1 hour per mile. Up mountain.
It's uphill.
It's uphill with 50-pound pack. Mm-hmm. You're not jogging with a tank top and little booty shorts. You got a freaking 50-pound pack on with gear and everything and loaded out. And then the next day is 15 miles. So we're going to start in the morning, 7 o'clock, 8 o'clock, whatever, and literally trek until sundown and beyond, because it's going to take, you give an hour per mile, that's 15 miles. That's going to put you, if you start at 7 to 10 p.m. And that's not including stopping for food and refueling, which you have to allow another 2 hours for. So that means you're going to be trekking on the second day from literally, we're probably going to leave at 6 in the morning, 5 in the morning. But even if you leave at 6 in the morning, that will get you trekking till 12 at night. 12 at night, including food. Including food. Oh my Lord, at least 10 o'clock night. I mean, that is ridiculous. So the reality of the power and the level of this trip is becoming more and more solid and more clear. And so this will be my last segment, as then I have to go prepare with the Queen. And we have to start.
King's Report will continue for the third
Yes,
hour.
the King's Report will continue in third hour, and our wonderful co-host Tim will take over for me. Again, back to the headline news. Violent street gang MS-13 puts Long Island towns in its grips. The incredible illegal immigrants started California-based, southern-based MS-13 has now moved to the northeast and now has moved to different suburbs in Long Island. Late at night, when helicopters thrum overhead and spotlights beam down into lawns, many people know exactly what's going on. You just think, oh God, whose child is it now? Said Stephanie Spezia, a longtime resident of the suburb in the heart of Long Island that is caught in the grip of a violent street gang with Central American ties, MS-13. MS-13 has been blamed for a trail of 11 corpses of mostly young people discovered in woods and vacant lots in Brentwood and neighboring Central Islip since the start of the school year. The bloodshed in the two blue-collar towns has gotten attention of President Donald Trump, who says the killings are a result of lax immigration policy that let too many criminal scum slip through. Attorney General Jeff Sessions was set to give a speech Friday not far from a park where the bodies of the 4 young men were found this month, bearing MS-13 hallmarks, repeated slashes from a blade that left the victims nearly unrecognizable. Some parents say they are afraid to let their children go to school. Teens say any perceived slight to a gang member, especially a refusal to join, can mean death. After one high school warned parents not to let their kids wear anything gang-affiliated, gang members started deciding on a daily basis what colors were off limits, leaving students to guess what not to wear. Kids are losing their childhoods. You can see the stress on their faces as they get ready. It's like, they're suiting up for battle. So how does a street gang with ties to Central America gain such an aggressive foothold in the suburbs of Long Island? MS-13, or Mara Salvatrucha, is believed by federal prosecutors to have thousands of members across the U.S., primarily immigrants from Central America. It has a stronghold in Los Angeles where it emerged in the 1980s as a neighborhood street gang. But its true rise became after members were deported back to El Salvador in the 1990s. There, the gang thrived and spread to Honduras. MS-13 and rival groups there now control entire towns, rape girls and young women, massacre students, bus drivers, and merchants who refuse to pay extortion, and kill competitors or youths who simply refuse to join. That violence has prompted a mass migration of young people trying to escape, especially children who have streamed north because of U.S. policy allowing people under 18 who arrive without parents to stay in the country temporarily with relatives or friends. But this is reported by Yahoo, saying that the people are trying to flee them from South America, and that's why we should leave our borders open. They don't mention the fact that their story is admitting that they're in Long Island because of the lax borders.
Yes.
But they don't want you to remember that headline that you just read 10 seconds ago. They bank on the fact that you have a 7-second memory, less than a goldfish, that now young people are trained to have. And you can't even remember the fact that their headline is about Long Island being ravaged by MS-13. But they just said, but all these poor people are trying to run away from them in South America. And that's why we basically have to leave our borders open. Well, if you leave the borders open, that's causing MS-13 coming here, you dumb idiot. This is why the people that they're trying to run away from, they're following them in. Do you understand? And of course, ravaging now innocent people and families in Long Island. There you go. Murderous Long Island groups. Of course, MS-13, more dangerous than MS-13. And ISIS is centralized government. Even more dangerous. Democide being responsible for over 200 million deaths in the last 100 years. By far the biggest crime syndicate, by far the most murderous, genocidal, psychopathic organization, federal governments. MS-13 only dreams to take control of the federal government. ISIS only dreams to take control of federal governments, which you have in the Middle East by now, due to Obama's lax policy. But there you go, folks. Variety magazine reports BuzzFeed's latest viral craze, ex-staffers bashing the company on YouTube. Why I left BuzzFeed, now putting their stuff on YouTube. BuzzFeed has drilled its young employees in the dark arts of crafting viral content, and many of them have been using those skills in spades after they quit the company BuzzFeed. A rash of why I left BuzzFeed YouTube videos by ex-employees explaining why they quit has swept across YouTube over the past several months. The recurring themes: the creators say they wanted more creative control and ownership of their work. They chafed BuzzFeed's policy prohibiting outside projects, and some simply feel burned out from the pressure of churning out high volume of hits. Several of the confessional videos from the 20-somethings ex-BuzzFeeders have garnered millions of views, reflecting an interest or schadenfreude about their inner workings of the internet media company's content factory. There you go. BuzzFeed now coming under its own medicine. U.S. Marines could deploy robots and hypersubs to storm future beaches. There you go. With the robots now taking over. We told you the robots are not only for shopping malls, but in the end, they are to be gun-toting and to be used as weapons in deployment for war. And there was another article that was very, very shocking. Where is the article? Here we go. The race to build the first, let's see. The race to build the world's first sex robot, linked by Drudge, a very large article about a, of course, sex robot that blinks, frowns, does all that kind of stuff, but also now has AI technology and can tease you and be taunted. Their desire is to create an ideal being to be worshipped or to serve its owner. The sex robot's early precursor was probably Galatea, the ivory statue created by Pygmalion in Greek mythology. Ovid's Metamorphosis describes how Pygmalion was disgusted by real women, but carved a sculpture of the perfect female so beautiful and lifelike that he fell in love with it and brought it to life with a kiss. Greek mythology also gave us Laodamia, who, devastated after the death of her husband in the Trojan War, had a bronze likeness made of him. She became so attached to her proxy husband that she refused to marry Mary. When her father ordered it to be melted down, Laodamia was so distraught she threw herself into the furnace. And in this article, they go on to describe some of the conversations that you can have with your sex robot, buying into a totally demonic form of sex. Here you go. Harmony has a mood system, which users influence indirectly. If no one interacts with her for a day, she will act gloomy. Likewise, if you insult her, as McMillan demonstrated, he said, "You're ugly," he told her. She said, "Do you really mean that? Oh dear, now I'm depressed. Thanks a lot," Harmony replied. "You're stupid," McMullen shot back. She paused. "I'll remember you said that when robots take over the world." So now they can actually play around. "Matt, I just wanted to say that I'm happy to be with you. You already told me that." Matt says, "Perhaps I was saying it again for emphasis." "See, now that's pretty good. Good answer, Harmony." "Am I a clever girl or what?" says the robot. And of course, this is what you get after decades of feminism have made men into pathetic, porno-chomping, women-fearing troglodytes. After women have become so nasty and so arrogant and so not even treating men with common decency and as human beings, but be able to abuse them and create a culture of total abuse and be celebrated for it. Well, that's what you get, being replaced by sexy robots. Donald Trump's warning of major conflict as North Korea turns to Southeast Asia nations for support. Another article outlining the rising tensions with North Korea. Trump said a major conflict with North Korea is possible in the standoff over missile programs, but he would prefer a diplomatic outcome to the dispute. There's a chance in North Korea, absolutely, Trump said. North Korea, I believe he's trying very hard. He certainly doesn't want to see turmoil and death. He doesn't want to see it. He's a good man. He is a very good man, and I got to know him very well. He's not a good man, Trump. And Trump is doing many things in terms of economic policy, which are going to be tremendous. Lowering the corporate tax rate, bringing companies back in, boosting the stock market, et cetera. All these kind of things, those are great. Pulling us out of TPP, possibly starting to renegotiate NAFTA, which means he can altogether. Problem: Women's Summit in Berlin, saying that she believes continue for the sake of who? For the sake of in to the EU every year. 87% of them being men. But of course, you have to do this for the women. Ivanka Trump, a total brain-dead lunatic, revealing herself as a complete globalist, a complete archangel, preying on her father's victory to try to gain political power and to fight angelic centralized power. She's now become totally exposed. Jared Kushner being a lifelong Democrat leftist lunatic. They are total moles within the Trump administration. Trump must get rid of them. Of course, also Trump turning his back on people like WikiLeaks, like Julian Assange, saying that he's actually going to now go after Julian Assange to stop. And they got Trump in office. And as a loyal person, you do not get rid of those kind of people who helped you get in office and stopped Hillary from taking over the power, the presidential palace. He's going to go after Julian Assange. Why? Because he left stupid Comey, FBI director, in there who has hated WikiLeaks. Releasing of real data that is coming from the intelligence agencies, from the actual agencies, and is basically becoming the hub point to distribute it. He kept Comey in there, the known Hillaryite, the known Clintonite, the known operative, the known deep state operative. He kept him in there. And now Trump is saying, changing his tune, saying WikiLeaks. Even though during the campaign, he loves WikiLeaks. It's very bad. By his family members. Ivanka showing herself now, completely exposing herself now, she's completely out as becoming the political Satanist link. The open hole that is allowing the demons to come in and start to threaten and start to change Trump and his nature and character and the policy on which he lied to us. You're starting to turn on the people who got you in. And if you do that, you will become an enemy. People who got you elected. Now, being said, he's way better than Hillary, way better than Obama. He's way better. Yes, it's true. But he's starting to, on the foreign policy front, and starting to, on the international front, look more and more like McCain. You might as well have McCain in there because he's the one who wants to go after WikiLeaks. You might as well have that fool in there. Trump is going back on these promises. This is very bad. Very bad. Of course, we know where this will lead. It will lead to war because those warmongers always want war. We're praying for Trump. This is a time to for everybody to be praying for our president, that he step away from these demonic forces that are starting to pour in, that he punishes his daughter. Get her out of there. She is ruining that administration with her stupid elite husband. Real estate, China. He has China links as well. He has contracts with China. He's completely compromised. And then you have Trump saying Xi Jinping is a good guy. Are you kidding me? A guy who does genocide and organ harvest and lets Falun Gong and evangelical Christians be murdered and slaughtered and harvested for their organs? He's a good guy? Give me a break! If this is the way Trump is going, this will be his downfall. He must get back to the people who have got him. Republican Rhino being taken over. Pray for him so he can see the way he's going is wicked. That he can separate. We know, of course, he's being threatened. We know, of course, there's open subterfuge and open sabotage within the deep state against him. We know that there's open treason against him. He's dealing with a lot. Yes, we understand that. But that's why he had to stay biblical. That's why he had to stay away from the White House. But again, it's very disheartening to see. The longer he stays there, the longer he starts smelling like a beast. That is not a good sign. We have Trump. We have to pray that he separates. He goes back to the people like he's doing in Pennsylvania, I think tomorrow.
Tomorrow in Harrisburg, yes.
Harrisburg. And also people traveling around I hope he travels more around the country, getting back to the people that will remind him why he got elected. To stand up, drain the swamp, lock her up, to go after the criminals, and to get rid of this Washington elitist establishment that is funded by George Soros and Goldman Sachs and the Rothschild bank groups and the foreign cartels, crime boss syndicates. Get rid of them, Trump. That's why we elected you. Do your job. You work for the American people who fought and elected you. Do your job. Don't sell to the deep state. Get rid of your daughter from office. Get rid of her stupid husband. Little globalist, little 21-year-old, what is it? He's like 27 or something. Little elitist, little China cuckolded little brat. Get rid of him. The American people didn't vote for those kind of liberal lunatics. Drain the swamp, do what you promised. We're praying for you. We pray that God rebuke the demons that are around you, that you get your head back on straight and do your job, Mr. President. We'll be right back with Tim, the Agent Elder, after this. Stay with us.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Little hands, shoeless feet, lonely eyes looking back at me. Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear Little hands, shoeless feet, lonely eyes looking back at me. Will we leave behind the innocent to grieve? On their own, on the run, when their lives have only begun. These could be our daughters and our sons. And just like a drum, I can hear their hearts beating. I know my God won't let them be defeated. Every child has a dream to belong and be loved. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these, when we love the least of these. Break our hearts once again. Help us to remember when we were only children hoping for a friend. Won't you look around? These are the lives that the world has forgotten, waiting for doors of our hearts and our homes to open. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love the least of these, then they will be brave and free. Shout your name in victory. When we love the least of these, when we love the least of these. If not us, who will be like Jesus to the least of these? If not us, tell me who will be like Jesus to the least of these. Boys become kings, girls will be queens, wrapped in your majesty. When we love
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Friday, April 28th, 2017, 8th year of Chungi, 4th month, 3rd day by the heavenly calendar. I'm Tim Miller, sitting in for the second king of Cheonryuguk, Hyungjin Moon, for the last few segments of this morning's broadcast. I want to cover North Korea again today. If you cover the same story every day, people sort of start getting tired. Oh, you're just saying the same thing. I know there's a crisis. I know. But this is important because thousands and potentially hundreds of thousands, even maybe millions of lives are at stake, and it could turn into a tremendous bloodbath if things go wrong, even a little bit. It's really, you're just sort of hanging on the cliff. After a while, you get tired of hanging there and just sort of say, oh, well, whatever happens, happens. But it is important that we continue to pray for this situation as Christians and be aware of what is going on, because it could turn into a tremendous catastrophe. I wanted to start this discussion today with playing a video by where Charles Krauthammer, a respected political analyst, speaks about the problem. And he talks about how the Trump administration can pursue 3 possible objectives in North Korea. So can we bring up that screen with Charles Krauthammer?
Isn't your policy just a version of the Obama policy of strategic patience? And he dodged it. I thought that was a clever answer, because they seem, at least in the short term, to have decided that a freeze of the program is enough. There are 3 possible objectives: regime overthrow, an abolition of the program, or a freeze of the program. So what Tillerson pointed out was that as a result of, they're saying, as a result of the pressure by the United States in 2 occasions over the last 10 days when you might have expected a new nuclear test, and we all were expecting it, it didn't happen. That was the dog that didn't bark, which I think is an achievement. I think the message has been either directly or probably through the Chinese, if you do that, if you explode a nuclear weapon, there's going to be activity by the Americans and you're not going to like it and we're not going to like it. So I think it has achieved that objective. The question that you were asking is, are you willing to have that as enough? Is that enough that you don't get any more missile tests and any more nuke tests, which I think probably is all that we're going to get short of war? And then I think is an important objective, because it means if they can't test the missiles and they can't test the nukes, it's not operational. It is a way to kick the can, but it does actually stop the program. To get it abolished, which is what he talked about, abolish the program, will bring you into the community of nations, will make you economically strong. That is not going to work. The North Koreans are not interested in that. They like, at least the regime likes their system. They're not going to become Western. So I think that seems to be their policy for now. You freeze the program and you get the Chinese to back you.
So Charles Krauthammer laying out, he says that there have been successes of the Trump administration's policy towards North Korea already. He said that on 2 occasions, I think he's referring to the April 15th, Day of the Sun, that is the 105th birthday of Kim Il-sung, and then April 25th, I guess, 25th, yes, the 85th anniversary of the founding of the North Korean Army. Western analysts were expecting that on or around either of those days, there was a strong likelihood to be a nuclear test. Also, other analysts are saying that on April 27th, because that apparently was the time that there would be a new moon over North Korea, this would be a dark night, that there would be an attack on North Korea by the United States. That also did not happen. So things have gone well as well as we could expect right now. So, and Krauthammer says that you can either American policy can either be to freeze the North Korean program or to denuclearize North Korea, to get rid of the program. And as I've been repeating over and over, North Korea will not ever, under the current regime, not just Kim Jong-un, but under the current system of their government, they will not ever give up nuclear weapons. Why? Because they see that as their guarantee of sovereignty. They've even written it into their constitution. The preamble of their constitution was amended in 2012 to say that we are a nuclear-possessing country, 핵 보유국, nuclear-possessing country. So denuclearizing North Korea would involve not only decapitating the North Korean regime, not only killing or getting rid of Kim Jong-un, but actually of getting rid of the entire system, because that is their fundamental belief that this guarantees their sovereignty. They look at Libya. Libya gave up its nuclear program, and guess what? They got invaded by the United States. Iraq got rid of its weapons of mass destruction, and they got invaded by the United States. So they look at these past examples in North Korea. You ask if they are rational or irrational. They are rational. They look at these examples and they say, look, if we give up our nuclear program, we're definitely going to get invaded. We're going to lose our sovereignty. So they will not give it up. So then, if you're not going to denuclearize North Korea, then the only other option is to freeze it. But that's what what he does not say, Krauthammer does not say, is that this has been what American administrations have been trying to do ever since the Clinton administration. That in '94 they thought that they had frozen the North Korean program. Turns out later that they had not. That North Koreans took the money, $1.3 billion in aid from the United States, and continued their nuclear program. So freezing is also, because it's unverifiable. You cannot actually get in there and verify that it's been frozen. Krauthammer says, well, as long as they cannot test, then the system is not operational, and so it's as good as denuclearizing is basically what it's trying to say. But freezing is a very short-term goal, and it's probably not going to work even in the midterm, even over the next couple of years, much less over the next 5 to 10 years. So North Korea will continue to advance towards its goal of becoming a credible threat towards the United States. In other words, to be able to have an ICBM that can carry a nuclear warhead across the Pacific and to the United States and explode on the U.S. mainland. And here Tillerson is saying that now North Korea is becoming a global threat. Let's see if I can find that. Well, here, first of all, let's look at this one, that China has threatened Pyongyang with sanctions if the rogue government continues to disregard calls for to stop conducting nuclear tests, which are seen as a provocation to its regional neighbors, and the U.S. Secretary of State Rex Tillerson said. So now, partly because of what Trump has done, is really to pressure China and say, look, if you don't take care of it, we will. China perhaps, but also I think China's more and more seeing the North Korean nuclear threat as being a threat to their security. Because, those missiles can be pointed the other way very easily. They don't necessarily have to keep shooting towards Japan. They can always shoot towards China. So Tillerson, in an interview with Fox News on Thursday, said that China's commitment to implement sanctions on their own accord, and that North Korea is aware of this. We know that China is in communication with the regime in Pyongyang, Tillerson said. They confirmed to us that they had requested the regime conduct no further nuclear test. Of course, China's biggest leverage against North Korea is to cut off the pipeline of oil. About a week ago, there were some reports that some gas stations in Pyongyang were beginning to cut back on their sales of gasoline. Some gas stations had said we don't have any. Others had said that we can only sell to foreign diplomats and so forth. So there was some indication that China maybe was cutting back on its supply of gasoline to North Korea and of oil to North Korea. Of course, North Korea does not have any refining ability on its own, and it also does not produce any oil, and so it has to import all of its oil and oil products from, basically from China. So if China will cut off that pipeline, that would be a tremendous pressure on North Korea. But then China says, well, if we do that, the whole regime will collapse and it'll be a mess. So they want to be careful about how they exercise that leverage. Although China's foreign ministry did not immediately comment on the secretary's remarks, a spokesman said that Beijing remains committed to employing sanctions imposed under UN Security Council resolutions. Potential for joint pressure on North Korea comes just as tensions in the region reached new heights. Earlier Thursday, the senior U.S. Navy officer overseeing military operations in the Pacific said the crisis with North Korea is at the worst point he's ever seen. It's real, Admiral Harry Harris, Jr., commander of the U.S. Pacific Command, said during testimony before the Senate Armed Services Committee. He added that although U.S. intelligence agencies are unsure how far along North Korea's nuclear and missile program is, but he has no doubt that North Korean leader Kim Jong-un intends to fulfill his pursuit of a nuclear missile capable of striking the United States. Although China has consistently called for an end to North Korea's nuclear weapons program, it opposes unilateral sanctions imposed without a UN mandate. The House GOP leadership announced late Thursday that it would vote next week on new sanctions against North Korea that would target its shipping industry and those who employ North Korean slave labor abroad. That doesn't sound like it's going to be very effective. The time for waiting on North Korea to get its act together is over. Congress has led the effort to institute tough and far-reaching sanctions against Pyongyang, said House Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, a Republican of California. North Korea does send a lot of laborers overseas. They've been sending them to Russia. Even during the Soviet times, they were sending laborers to the Siberian area to work there. But also Poland, Eastern countries. Poland, recently there was a TV program about the North Korean laborers in Poland working in construction sites, and also other East European countries. But to be able to shut that down, I think it would be very difficult. That is a source of a foreign exchange for North Korea, but they have many other sources. So that kind of a sanction is going to be a pretty weak one. All right, well, let's take a break now, and we'll be back in a minute with more news as we go up towards the 8 o'clock hour here in Pennsylvania. Be back in a minute.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Welcome back to the King's Report for April 28th, 2017. It's a rather warm Friday morning here in Northeast Pennsylvania. We're in the 8th year of Chungi, 4th month and 3rd day by the heavenly calendar. And we're going through the news this morning from a Chungi perspective. Ann Coulter's scheduled speech at Berkeley for last night, for Thursday night, was canceled. But guess what? That didn't stop hundreds of protesters from flooding the University of California campus. So either way, they want to protest. Demonstrators came ready for action and possible violence earlier in the afternoon, wearing helmets, shields, and padding, according to the Washington Post. Authorities also turned out in force, resulting in both conservative and liberal activists mostly just shouting at each other across the street, divided by a police line. Prior to the outbreak, University spokesman Dan Mogilov said the police had obtained a lot of information about threats from individuals and groups who intend either to come and protest all that's happening or support all that's happening, NBC News reported. However, by midway through the evening, only 2 people have been arrested in connection with the demonstrations, one for carrying a knife on campus and another for obstructing a police officer wearing a mask to evade police and other charges. Coulter, who initially insisted she would go to Berkeley even after the university canceled her planned speech, citing threats of violence, told the New York Times on Wednesday, "It's a sad day for free speech." After arriving in San Francisco, the conservative commentator had hinted that she might still swing by to say hello to her supporters in Berkeley, but apparently held back. She later told Fox News' Tucker Carlson on Thursday night that she hadn't planned to say anything inflammatory anyway. Well, my seditious and hateful speech, the theme of it, obviously, it was going to be a searingly brilliant speech on immigration, Coulter said. Berkeley, of course, has been a hotbed of leftism and so forth for a very long time, and they have a long history of being intolerant towards views that don't match their stated orthodoxy. They don't like heretics very much at all. But certainly, Ann Coulter was upset at the Young Americans for Freedom who were going to sponsor her speech because they pulled out. They didn't have the guts for a fight. But really, free speech is something that we have to fight for. And I think Ann Coulter was disappointed, and I think many of us were disappointed that speech did not come off. It would have been a wonderful situation to go into Berkeley and to speak something that they did not want to hear. If you're going to just listen to people that say what you're going to hear, you're not going to be very successful. Because people need to hear different views and be able to break down those views and decide what their own views are. But if you're only going to listen to the orthodox view, then that is not very development. Certainly, Berkeley is an example of an educational institution that does not educate. It only teaches people to follow and to parrot that which they have been taught, the orthodoxy that they've been taught. Let's go into this news about the Planned Parenthood Lamborghini lady negotiates harvested baby part prices in new video. Planned Parenthood senior executive who in 2015 admitted she wanted to make enough money off of harvested fetal parts to buy a Lamborghini has again been caught haggling over baby part prices. Let's see if we can get that video going here.
What we've been quoting is $50 per specimen. I think some people are doing more, some slightly less.
50 was like 12 years ago.
Let me put that on a full screen. Let's see here. Nope. Can't quite get that onto full screen, can I? Yeah, I don't think I can. Well, I can expand it this way, all right.
To paying. You know, in negotiations, the person who throws out the figure first is at a loss, right? So I want a Lamborghini. I said I want a Lamborghini.
Okay, we kind of launched it because we were talking to Eleanor, but then
I wanted you to meet
Robert Sarkis with Biomax. Very nice to meet you. Pasadena.
When we were in LA, we had a deal with the guys who were using
Novogenics.
Yeah. Novogenics.
Yeah. The problem we're having is that the California affiliates are all already partnered up with somebody.
Well, Pasadena's not actually.
Oh, Pasadena's not.
Do you have the volume? I don't.
What kind of volume do you need?
How far in gestation do you go?
16 weeks.
To 16.
We only do 20 cases a week, so it's not a big deal.
So that's the. I mean.
Hey, no,
We do you have a card on you? Because okay, let me give you one of mine. Because I did it?
No.
Oh well, I would like your card as well.
What kind of volume do you need and what gestation age is? What kind of volume do you need and what gestation age is?
Well, really, it's 24 weeks. It's up to most of the requests are actually like 16 weeks and above. So you're kind of like right on the edge there. But I think it would be worth it to make the connection, and this way, we can start the conversation, and if we can have like a one-off that we do some of the things.
It's a great idea. You have to make sure that your staff who are on site
Right.
whatever background check, whatever.
Right.
You have to pay a little money to use the
Right.
space. It's not law. We're not doing it
Right.
like that.
Yeah. What do you have any idea ballpark what we'd be talking about in terms of compensation? Yeah, because most people now seem to be doing per specimen, and so what we sorry, what?
$75 a specimen or $50
most.
Really disturbing and sick to see how Planned Parenthood continues to make money off of baby parts, and that federal funds, our tax dollars are actually helping to fund Planned Parenthood. It's really a tremendous scandal that this evil organization is actually funded by our tax dollars. And certainly we need to express our opinion to our congressmen and senators about that. Because this kind of an organization, it was originally started as a eugenics project to reduce the black population, and even now is killing mostly black babies in black neighborhoods, a majority, and it's that kind of an evil organization is allowed to exist is a tremendous shame for America. This kind of thing, I'm sure, 50 years, 100 years from now, people will be asking, how did people in the 20th century and early 21st century even allow this kind of an organization to continue to operate in this way? It's truly one of the examples of a tremendous evil in our society. Here they are just haggling over volume and prices and for babies that are up to 16 weeks in the mother's womb. And then the man wants more than 16 weeks, and they're talking about $75 per specimen, right? Per specimen, in other words, per baby part, that kind of a thing. All right, we'll take a short break now, and we'll be back with more news in just a minute.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Car Arms, Magnum Research, and Auto Ordnance. The Car Firearms Group. With a diverse product line that blends American craftsmanship with cutting-edge technology. It's no secret why gun enthusiasts choose Car Firearms Group. From the Desert Eagle and Baby Desert Eagle made famous by Hollywood. The history of the 1911 and the Tommy gun. To the best in compact concealed carry. Car Firearms Group is not only the first name in personal defense, it's a name that has earned the respect of gun enthusiasts around the world. Concealment, innovative technology, value, accuracy, and history. Car Firearms Group. Made in the USA. Visit car.com today.
At break of day, in hope we rise, we speak your name.
Welcome back to the King's Report for Friday, April 28th, 2017, 8th year of Chungi, 4th month, 3rd day by the heavenly calendar. There's a lot of really bad stuff going on in the world, more than we can know, more than we can digest, more than we want to know. But there's also some good stuff going on. I wanted to end up this morning with a story that's kind of a feel-good story. An Illinois couple married for 69 years died just 40 minutes apart while holding hands in their hospital room. Teresa Vatkin, 89, died Saturday at 12:10 a.m. alongside her husband, 91-year-old Isaac Vatkin, who died around 12:50 a.m. at Highland Park Hospital in Skokie, the Associated Press reported. Relatives say the couple were holding hands when Teresa passed away. The couple's daughter, Clara Gasklin, said her father stopped breathing once their hands separated. My father's chest went flat. I would think no more than 20 minutes. They were both gone, Gasklin told WGN. The moment he felt we removed her hand from his, he was able to say, "Okay, I'm done protecting her. I can go and rest as well." Their son Daniel Vatkin told the Chicago Sun-Times, "The ultimate in chivalry, so he could go to heaven and open the door for her." Leo Vatkin, the couple's son, said the father never wanted to do anything apart from his wife. Their love for each other was so strong, they simply could not live without each other, Gasklin said during a joint funeral held Monday for the couple. Isn't that beautiful? They were married for 69 years, and you can really tell that this was a couple where the man took responsibility for his wife, to protect his wife, and to open doors for her, not just physical doors, but also, I'm sure, psychological doors, giving her security in terms of financial security and psychological security and physical security, and protecting her until the very end. And then that they were able to pass in this way just 40 minutes apart, and that he held onto her hand until the end. And then once the family removed her hand from his, he was able to say to himself, "Okay, I've done my job here on earth. Now I need to go with her to spirit world and to open the door to heaven there for her. That's really the kind of couple that we all, I think, aspire to be. Because when many couples I know are worried about, well, what will I do if my spouse dies and I have to live 5, 10, 20 years after that by myself? And that's a concern for many couples. But to be able to live like this till the end and to be able to go together is really wonderful. Unfortunately, though, there's a lot of other stuff that's going on in the world that's really evil, and there's still the foundation of goodness is still so small. Even though it is growing, but it is still so very small. Here in the Washington Post this morning, the judge, the Washington Post does not want me to look at their articles anymore. Apparently I've fulfilled my quota for the week. But about Alabama City is allowed to secede from a school district despite its racial motive, according to the judge. Let's just go through the headlines for the remaining time that we have here. Frozen brains are woken up and transplanted in donor bodies. That's a science fiction thing. Who chooses the body, I wonder? Anyway, Florida neighborhood covered in poop war over majestic peacocks. Nature is good, nature is good, but nature's not always, doesn't always smell good. Kim puts White House in crosshairs, another video that they put out. These videos are really provocations, and it's like a younger brother who keeps poking his older brother. And at one point, of course, the older brother, after a certain amount of period, would just turn around and whack him. But then the younger brother would go crying to his parents. That's basically what North Korea is doing here with all these videos. I think the best thing to do is to ignore them. Nuclear Holocaust letter, military chiefs affirm full defense posture against North Korea. That's about the U.S. and U.S. Joint Chiefs Chairman and the South Korean Joint Chiefs Chairman having a telephone call saying, let's protect our countries. On the surface of it, it's a routine article. I think there was probably some other part of that conversation we're not aware of that made it more important for them to spend that time on the phone together. But we don't know what that is. Coulter says not building wall is government shutdown. Immigration declined like 70 years, illegal immigration from across the southern border declined to 70 or 75% after Trump came into office. And that was because of his words. Basically, he was able to make people to change their mind about coming to America by the statements that he was making. But after a while, people are going to sit back and say, "Hey, wait a second! This guy his bark is much worse than his bite. So why don't we just ignore what he's saying and go across anyway?" So I think if the wall is not built, the reduction in illegal immigration is going to disappear. Illegal immigrants will start coming again. So during this time that it's down, that wall needs to be built so as to keep criminals out of America. But right now the Republican Congress is not really going forward on this. Paul Ryan is not going forward on this. Perhaps there's a sense of complacency because illegal immigration is down. But that's like, not fixing a hole in your roof because it's not raining today. You got to fix it before it starts raining again, and the wall needs to go up now. Media companies race to rebrand. Mosquitoes are world's deadliest animals. Okay, that sounds like about right. Southern house mosquitoes larvae in the lab at the Orange County. Okay. The bloodlusting killers attack in the darkest hours after you've gone to bed or early in the morning. If they were zombies or vampires, you would fear them, but these killers, which are very real, don't get the respect or caution they deserve. Consider this, since 2014, these creatures have passed along the potentially deadly West Nile virus to 1,311 people in Los Angeles, Orange, Riverside, and San Bernardino counties. How would you react if that number were connected to the phrase mountain lion attacks or shark bites? Mosquitoes are the world's deadliest animals, according to the World Health Organization. And over the next few months, Southern California insect experts are bracing for a massive region-wide mosquito attack. Sounds to me like they're trying to make you afraid of nature, going out into nature. I mean, there are, ways of avoiding mosquitoes, and even if you get bitten, there are ways of treating mosquito bites. Sounds to me that they're trying to keep you in the city. Don't go out into nature. You might get bitten. If you don't get bitten by a tick, you'll get bitten by a mosquito, or you'll get bitten by a mountain lion. So just stay in the house and play your computer games. It sounds like that's what that's talking about. Rise of the sex machines. The King covered that, and tech firms race to spot video violence. This refers, I think, to the Facebook, where a number of people have been using Facebook Live function to perform sadistic crimes, rape and murder, and to broadcast those live. A 58-year-old woman gives birth to twins. Woman jailed following xylophone rage incident. Google beats Amazon beats stocks smash records. Bezos within $5 billion of becoming the world's richest man. Tech titans big to bigger. BuzzFeed's latest viral craze, ex-staffers bashing the company on YouTube. Violent street gangs MS-13 puts Long Island towns in its grip. Prehistoric human DNA is found in caves without bones. How'd that DNA get there? Screen fatigue spurs ebook sales plunge, and readers return to print. Wow. After Whirlpool battle, French candidates clash over fish. Marines test robots to storm beaches. House Republicans again delay Obamacare repeal vote. That's not a very good situation. They were promising that they were going to do this for us by the end of May, but now they're delaying it again. Leaders are still struggling to round up enough moderates to get their repeal and replace bill through the chamber. House Republican leaders on Thursday delayed a vote on their Obama repeal bill until next week at the earliest, denying President Donald Trump a major legislative victory during his first 100 days in office. Speaker Paul Ryan and his top lieutenants decided during a late-night huddle in the Capitol that they still do not have the votes to pass the stalled health care legislation. At least 15 House Republicans remain subtly opposed to the bill, with another 20 leaning no or still undecided, according to GOP lawmakers and aides. House Republicans can only lose 22 votes. We are not voting on health care tomorrow, Majority Leader Kevin McCarthy, Republican of California, told reporters upon emerging from the meeting. We're still educating members. White House officials, after striking a deal with conservatives, had publicly raised expectations that the vote would occur this week, and they privately pushed Ryan to hand Trump something he could tout as a major legislative victory before Saturday, his 100th day in office. But GOP leaders are still struggling to secure the votes. Though some are hopeful that they can vote next week, more than 15 lawmakers publicly declared their opposition in recent days, though most of those members also rejected the original draft that Ryan yanked from the floor last month. More foreboding for House leaders. Republicans who backed earlier versions of the proposal, including Representatives Mike Kaufman of Colorado and Adam Kinzinger of Illinois, said that they were now undecided. Some even came out against the bill. Protections for those with pre-existing conditions without contingency and affordable access to coverage for every American remain my priorities for advancing health care reform. And this bill does not satisfy those benchmarks for me, said Representative Ryan Costello, a centrist Pennsylvania Republican, who voted for an earlier version of the bill in committee. I remain a no vote on this bill in its current form. Multiple senior House Republican sources said Ryan and his top lieutenants have made progress and are increasingly confident that they'll eventually garner enough support to force the bill through the chamber. They've locked down the most recalcitrant conservatives in the 238-member House GOP conference, and they say they've made headway with some moderate Republicans wary of a constituent backlash if they support the health care overhaul. Case in point, 3 senior House Republican sources sounded confident Thursday that they've now secured a yes vote from House Appropriations Chairman Rodney Frelinghuysen, who came out against the bill several weeks ago. The influential New Jersey Republican's office did not return multiple requests for comment, but leadership still has a ways to go until they hit 216, the number of votes Ryan needs to pass the bill. Sensible Democrats are expected to support the measure, which would gut some of Obamacare's central consumer protections, repeal its taxes, and phase out its massive expansion of Medicaid. Ryan can afford to lose only 22 members. Moderates appeared to be the biggest headache for GOP leaders on Thursday. Kaufman told Politico that if the vote on the measure were called today, I'd vote no. Kaufman said he has serious concerns about whether the latest draft does enough to protect coverage for people with pre-existing conditions, concerns echoed by just about every centrist opponent of the bill. Representative Pat Meehan of Pennsylvania, Jamie Herrera Abudel of Butler of Washington State, and John Katko of New York also came out against the bill in statements Thursday, with Meehan specifically citing concerns about those with pre-existing conditions as the reason for his opposition. You know, how long do we have to go before we finally figure out that the best way to handle healthcare is through the free market system? This is an example of a government trying to intervene in the market, and Obamacare didn't work. As many people have said, that if we were to continue, it will collapse of its own weight, and many people would end up suffering in that way, and as a result of that. So now they're trying to change it, but they're still trying to intervene in the market and trying to legislate the free market, and it's just not going to work. I hope that we can figure this out before too much more unnecessary suffering occurs. People are suffering financially because of the exorbitant prices of healthcare insurance now, and even the people who prefer not to have healthcare insurance are being forced to pay these very, very high taxes as a result of that. But they justify it by saying, "Well, at least I'm not paying as much as I would if I were buying healthcare." So we hope that our people in Washington will come to understand that government cannot do anything. Government cannot solve all problems. In fact, it can solve very few problems. And actually, that most problems can be solved most effectively through the free market system. And the government's role should be to provide a transparency and to break up monopolies, and in that way allow the free market system to operate the way it should, efficiently, and to bring about the highest quality at the lowest possible price. All right, that brings us to the end of today's broadcast, Friday, April 28th. And tomorrow is Saturday. The King's Report will not be on air tomorrow. You can tune in to the King's Sermon at 11 a.m. on Sunday, and the King's Report will be back at 5 a.m. on Monday, and with Hyungjin Moon, the second king of Cheonryuguk, in this seat at that time. So we'll see you Sunday and again on Monday. God bless, Godspeed, and may His kingdom come.